Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. At the very least, it is a little less than half of Veldora's, and he is a true dragon, so I'm going to assume mine is good. Though that is while being boosted a bit by Sataniel. Still, that means my existence points have increased by about 36 to 38 times if you compare it with my Demon Duke self. Still, I could easily defeat hundreds of my Demon Duke self at this point, and back then after consuming that clown and taking his body I was easily planetary level. Quality always trumps quantity. I wonder how strong I am when going all out? I mutter out loud. When using Sataniel to the max, I should have an even higher existence points, as it boosts your energy output as well as all your overall stats. Mine isn't even half of that, and you're saying you aren't even going all out? Rimuru finished. I laughed at that. Haha, looks like you need to go train some more, Rimuru. Haha, Felix is right. I'm willing to train with you if you want, Rimuru. Yelled Veldora. No, I don't think I will, said Rimuru. I shrugged my shoulders. Oh well. You do you, bud. Alright, with that done, let's go. Do you want to come, Veldora? Asked Rimuru. Veldora shook his head. Nay. It is my duty as the king of the dungeon to await any challengers. So I shall remain here. I clapped at Veldora's proclamation. He's got this king of the dungeon thing down. Alright then, enjoy the show, Veldora. Rimuru said as he teleported us. Rimuru teleported us to the VIP booth, so all of our subordinates were already here waiting. Welcome, Lord Rimuru. Lord Felix. Welcome, Diablo. My lord. I turned towards the feminine voice and was met with a kneeling Arcuaid. I sighed seeing that. Ah, you know how I am by now, Arcuaid, no need to kneel. Yes, my lord. Arcuaid then led me to where everyone was sitting. Apparently they all wanted to came to greet me but were stopped by one of the announcers who said it would cause a bit too much chaos. Through a series of events, Arcuaid ended up being the one to welcome me. My lord. Master. I took a seat on the throne that was positioned for me before responding to everyone's greetings. It turns out that everyone had been waiting here for quite some time, close to an hour, so I did feel a bit bad for wasting their time. Of course they didn't allow me to apologize. These subordinates of mine are extremely devoted, doubly so for those among them who are my lovers. I took a look around. The ceremony was being conducted in front of the entrance to the dungeon itself. Rimuru had a stage placed in front along with plenty of seats all around. The VIP area was stationed at a slightly elevated angle so we could look down and have a good view. I'm not sure how Rimuru had all of this built so quickly. He really has some useful subordinates. In the VIP area itself, we of course were not the only ones here. There was Gazel and some of his subordinates, and then Elmgia and some of her subordinates like Erald, to name a few. I could even spot Yom with some of his subordinates, though one in particular caught my attention. A young-looking man with a fair amount of skills. It has been detected that the individual the master is observing is a reincarnated individual. Like reincarnated from another world? Negative. The user of that body performed a ritual to swap bodies with the original owner of that body, reincarnating himself into the body he is currently in. I see, so it's kinda similar to that Gara individual Sasha was talking about. There is a high likelihood that the reincarnated individual has possessed multiple other worlders, acquiring several unique skills in the process. The data for several unique skills has also been analyzed. Nice, great work, Odin. I continued to observe the people in the VIP area. There were some other people around that I did not know, likely royals and nobles. I could also see Mariabel Rosso, though unaware of her I could also sense Sai hiding near her, completely concealed. And then of course there was Rimuru and a group of his subordinates, since it seems like he isn't going to be running this ceremony on his own. Each group of individuals was given their own little area in the VIP area, so it was a bit difficult to interact with other parties. I guess Rimuru wanted everyone to focus on the event itself instead of socializing. On the stage there was Mjolmel, the new Minister of Finance for Tempest, and then there was Suka, one of Sai's underlings that I met some time ago. Suka was also the announcer for the tournament, And she did a fine job at it, so it makes sense that she will be helping with the dungeon opening ceremony. Mjolnir I don't know nearly as much about though. Rimuru only mentioned him offhandedly. Apparently he was a merchant in Bleomund previously. Why don't I try and measure the existence points of some people? Odin. Gazeldwargo's existence points is at or slightly above 1 million. Elmgia El Rusarian's existence points are at approximately 1,900,000. Odin went on to list everyone's existence points, except my subordinates. What about my subordinates then? The Demon Duke Arcuaid's existence points is at 1,670,000. The Demon Duke Megaman's existence points is at 1,912,000. The Demon Duke Lalatina's existence points is at 1,489,000. For those three I guess that's reasonable. It seems they've grown far above the standard level of an awakened demon lord. I'd say they individually have a solid chance of besting Luminous in a fight. Luminous has far more magicules at her disposal, but those three have leagues of more experience. Megaman, it seems, has the largest amount of energy available to her. Hey, either way, they've far surpassed my Demon Duke self. I imagine if they become Devil Lords they will each be nigh unstoppable forces. Or maybe not? Satanael does contribute a fair amount when it comes to my existence points. At the very least they will become far more powerful than previously. Plus they would get another massive boost to their power if they undergo a harvest festival, further increasing their might. They have been training in almost all their free time, seemingly eager to grow further in strength, so by the time they evolve next, they'll be even stronger, giving an even bigger boost to their power. The Wicked Unesiko's existence points is at 1,113,230. The Dragon Lord Raiden's existence points is at 1,054,231. The Nine-Tailed Fox Kurami's existence points is at 990,000 when all her summons are stored within her tails. The Cursed Demon Sukkena's existence points is at 774,000. That sounds about right. All of my direct subordinates have been training their excessive, even using the increased gravity training area to further increase their strength. A few months ago they only had a fraction of their current power. And Sukkena should catch up to the others soon though, they've had far more time than him to grow, and yet Sukkena is still catching up. The guy is a monster. The Demon Duke Ingvald's existence points is at 601,000. And the Enlightened Human Glanda's existence points is at 338,219. Nice, that gives me a pretty good reading of everyone's general level. Far better than just sensing their energy and comparing it with the other. Still, I could easily see how such a system is a horrible way of identifying threat levels at a higher level. Pure energy capacity is not a very good way of reading someone. Hopefully, Rimuru clearly makes his subordinates understand that before they underestimate someone due to their existence points. I took a look back at the stage and noticed Mjolnir approaching the microphone. Welcome everybody. This will be the final activity that we wish to introduce everyone to for the founding festival, and I can promise this is the most revolutionary of them all. Everyone in the VIP area focused on Mjolnir. Now what you have all been waiting for. What I am about to show you is Tempest's most groundbreaking creation so far. The dungeon is a challenge His Majesty Demon Lord Rimuru has issued to all adventurers all over the world. Will anyone be able to break through this dungeon to the end and witness what lay within? Suka then cut in. Now while His Majesty's challenge is on your mind, why don't I show you what's really inside? We will be choosing a select few among you to adventure inside the dungeon. Your adventure will be displayed to all of us through a projector so the rest of the audience can see what lays inside. Now who among you wish to challenge our nation's pride, the dungeon? Suka finished as she called out to the audience. At some point Ramaris left the VIP section and had made her way to the stage. The moment Suka finished her proclamation, Ramaris summoned an illusionary gate to act as the entrance to the dungeon. They were making a real show of things. Haha, I bet this dungeon isn't a big deal. Hey, even the tournament was probably rigged from the start. I'll show everyone that this Demon Lord is all talk. Yelled someone unknown adventurer. Ugh, that was so cliché that I would not be surprised if Rimuru scripted that. Though going by his subordinates' glares, it seems this adventurer is just an idiot. The idiot adventurer even had his own hype men. Yeah. Show them who's boss, elder brother. With all of us working together our team is unbeatable. Seriously? They're weak as shit and they're saying that? Even going by human strength standards they aren't even A rank. These guys don't know how close they are to death if the Glare Diablo is shooting at them is anything to go by. Suka ended up choosing a few groups to participate. There was Gay, the adventurer being boosted by greed, the group of idiot adventurers, and a few other random groups Suka picked out. Ah. Can we participate? I turned towards the location where the voice came from. Hey, it seems Elen and her party will be participating. I turned towards Selmjia's table and saw her smiling in amusement while Erald seemed to be having a panic attack. and so Suka allowed Elen and her party to join as well. Suka then went on to introduce those who would be helping to manage the dungeon. These are Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and Delta. They will be helping make sure everything in the dungeon is running smoothly. Though do know that any attacks on their person will result in immediate consequences. Not to mention they are each incredibly strong on their own. Going by their existence points, they are around a special A rank range, so Calamity class. More than strong enough to deal with anyone not following the rules. After all, humans rarely reach that level. In case they meet someone they can't handle, then I'm sure they will call over one of Rimuru stronger executives. If you ever need any help inside the dungeon, then just call for one of them, they will appear shortly. Now let's get into the rules. First I'll talk about what will be sold inside the dungeon. Suka then gestured to the screen behind her, which quickly projected various items. There were potions of all kinds, the resurrection bracelet, as well as a whistle that let you return to the floor you died on for a cost. Now, for the challengers who volunteered, we will be giving 10 high-grade healing potions, 1 full potion, and 1 return whistle. Suka said. Suka went on to explain the actual rules, as well as informing everyone that in emergency situations the Dryads would intervene. But seeing as the resurrection bracelet was working fine, I'm quite sure those situations will be rare. Suka then held up the resurrection bracelet. Now this is one of the key items for the dungeon. As long as you are wearing this, then you are at no risk of permanently dying when in the dungeon. No matter how wounded you are, no matter if your head is cut off, you will safely be reborn at the start of the dungeon. The moment Suka finished explaining, the crowd went wild. Small world op, please don't nerf. Suka spoke over them. This is an item only available in our nation, and will only work inside of our nation. I hope you all keep that in mind so you don't end up dead due to relying on it outside of the dungeon. Hey, I'm sure there will be currents who will blame Tempest for some deaths anyway, even though everyone was clearly warned. That is quite the interesting artifact. Commented Arcuade. Lalitina and Megaman nodded. It was only possible to create due to Ramari's small world. Without it, it wouldn't be possible. I informed them. Once Suka was finished explaining, everyone began getting ready for the actual test run. Of course, when Suka asked for a volunteer, everyone deflected. Gay even pointed at Njolm, trying to use him as a scapegoat. Njolm ended up agreeing, and in a show of strength and will, allowed Suka to kill him. Of course things couldn't go perfectly. Who knows what sort of trickery you will use? I'll be the one to kill him, yelled Gay. Though for some reason he seemed to be going for a non-lethal attack. He just wanted to cause pain, huh? Now is this on Mariabelle's orders or his own nature shining through? Either way it didn't matter, as Suka quickly interrupted him. Oh? Now is one of our guests attacking someone unprovoked? I do not recall permission being given to you for such a thing. Suka said as she held Gay up by his throat. A bunch of the audience was quite surprised. Gay was supposed to be someone strong to them after all, and yet he was casually disarmed and beaten. Now, due to Lord Rimuru's benevolence, he has allowed you to not be executed on the spot. However, your place in the dungeon has been revoked for the foreseeable future. Suka said as she confiscated the potions and items Gay was given before she threw him off the stage. I gave a side eye to Mariabelle, who seemed to have a perfectly natural smile, though I could sense that she was quite upset with Gay. That likely means that she did not order that. That also means her control is not absolute, her victims still have some free will. Greed was capable of absolute dominance, but who wants a bunch of yes men who can't share their thoughts and opinions? Now that unpleasant business is dealt with, why don't I continue the demonstration? Suka said as she cleanly cut Njolm's head off. The moment he was killed, a beam of light enveloped him. He then appeared at the illusionary entrance to the dungeon, all his clothes intact and looking the same as before. Have a look, everybody. I am completely resurrected, announced Njolm. He was quickly met by the booming cheers of the audience. Even Gazel and Delmgia were giving Rimuru the side eye. When looking at it from an outside perspective, Rimuru is just bullshit. Now we have one final thing to introduce everyone to, said Suka. She pointed at the projector, which must have been the cue for the projection to chance, as it was now displaying the words existence points. Existence points is a new measurement Tempest has come up with. Existence points is a numerical value that we can assign to an individual. It represents the combined magicules, holy power, aura, magic power. It represents everything, even physical power. Hearing Suka, the audience went wild. This will be revolutionary, I heard Gazel mutter. He was leaning forward in his seat now. Now calm down, everyone. Through experimentation we have managed to assign certain ranks to certain levels of existence points. Someone with an existence points less than 1000 is E-class. D-class is from 1000 to less than 3000. C-class is from 3000 to less than 6000. B-class is from 6000 to less than 8000. B+ class is from 8,000 to less than 9,000. A- class is from 9,000 to less than 10,000. Suka continued to introduce all the various ranks. Now I understand some of you may be skeptical, and so we will be continuing to test these rankings by using the dungeon. We understand that something as new as this will not be trusted immediately, so we ask you all to give us a chance. Suka said. And with that she shifted to a more casual tone. Now, all the contestants may enter the dungeon. Once inside, feel free to explore all around. There is plenty of loot awaiting you, all you need to do is search the right place. And with that all contestants went into the dungeon. They were teleported to different parts of the first floor so they wouldn't come into conflict with each other. It didn't take long for the projection to broadcast each group's experience. The majority of the broadcast was fairly straightforward. We watched each team go through the first floor. They fought monsters, some found chests while others found fake chests which teleport them into a hazardous area. I had to hide my laugh when one of the groups opened the chest that teleported them to the Tempest Serpent. Those guys died almost immediately. They seemed quite upset when they were respawned, but they didn't argue when they were led away from the stage and back into the crowd. They did get to keep the potions and other items they did not use in the dungeon, along with the loot they got in their playthrough. So it's not like they didn't get anything. Some groups were having trouble with some traps. The group of idiot adventurers kept going in circles due to some simple illusion magic. I have no clue how they obtained their status as a B-rank adventurer group. Elen's group was doing fairly well, suspiciously well. Rimuru was glaring at Ramarise, who had made her way back to the VIP area while Ramarise averted her gaze. I could tell Rimuru would be having some words with Ramarise later. Oh. It looks like one group is closing in on a chest, commented Suka. And it somehow ended up being the group of idiot adventurers. Some guys have all the luck. One of the members quickly ran up to the chest and popped it open. It seems he is confident enough to not check the chest for traps. He was lucky this time, as silver chests and higher do not have traps. Ah. It's a sword. The audience quickly got excited, likely curious about what sort of gear can be found in the dungeon. Man, this looks like it would be fun to venture into from time to time. I turned towards Glenda. It's fine if you come here to play around from time to time. Most of us can easily teleport to Tempest. Just make sure to do it in your own free time. Glenda saluted me. Got it, boss. I noticed Ingvild looking at Glenda with a fond smile. I guess opposites can truly attract in the most unfortunate of circumstances. I shook my head and focused back on the projection. Ah, Veldora said he increased the drop rarity for this show. He said something about baiting people, muttered Ramarise. Of course it wasn't very loud, but some of us could steal her. Still, that was a good idea. Show them what awaits in the dungeon, and promise even better things are further inside. I bet people will be begging to get in at that point. Even rare grade weapons are incredibly rare to most humans, let alone the higher tier stuff. It really puts things into perspective when I can casually create god-grade equipment. Gazel had mentioned that even his higher rank weapon was his legend-grade sword. Everyone continued watching the broadcast, though I eventually lost focus on that. These things can get rather boring fairly quickly. For me it was like I was watching a bunch of rats make their way through a maze. Interesting at first, but you quickly get bored and focus on other things. Thankfully there wasn't too much time left in the time limit, so it didn't take long for each group to be let out of the dungeon with their rewards in hand. Once Suka finished announcing the end of the ceremony, I quickly got up and got ready to teleport us all out. Though before I could, Rimuru interrupted me with a thought communication. Felix. Before you go, I wanted to let you know that we were going to have a get-together on floor 95. Who's going to be there? Of course I will. Then there is Veldora, Ramarise, Gazel, Elmgia, Yuki, and Hinata. Also you, of course, if you come. There will also probably be some of my subordinates, close allies, as well as people I'm looking to ally with. Alright, that's fine with me then. I'll see you tonight then. Alright, later. You all ready to head out? I asked. Everyone nodded, and so I snapped my fingers and teleported us to where we were staying. The festival overall was somewhat enjoyable. The fights weren't that interesting, but the concert was likely my highlight of the festival. Plus I got to meet some interesting new people too. I finished putting on my suit and tie. This should be sufficient for this little get-together Rimuru is having. Hopefully there will be good food. I should probably check on Rain and Sasha before I go. It's best if I make sure Rain isn't causing any trouble. I'm sure Rimuru has someone monitoring her, but I doubt anyone among Rimuru's subordinates is capable of truly monitoring a primordial except Diablo. And from what I heard, Diablo is busy with other things. It wasn't hard for me to lock onto her since I knew what her signature was. I'll be leaving now. I told Raiden, who had helped me get ready. Very well, master. Alright, see ya. I said with a wave before teleporting to where Rain and Sasha were. I looked around in mild confusion. Why were they in an art museum? Lord Felix, welcome. I turned to the voice and was met with an ogre in a nice suit. He must be the one in charge of this operation then. Hello there. I respond. Once again my hopes and dreams have been crushed. There is no one cultured in this world, I swear. There is no need to attend to me, I already know where I am going. The ogre nodded. Very well, Lord Felix. With that I waved him off and made my way deeper into the art museum. I could sense Rain and Sasha a bit deeper inside. Some of this art was quite nice. I didn't quite understand why some of these belonged in a museum, but whatever. I even spotted a few pieces depicting things from fictional works from my past life. Rimuru probably had something to do with that. I spotted Rain and Sasha up ahead. Rain, Sasha. I called out. They both turned to me, though I'm betting Rain knew I was here the moment I teleported. She just felt like making me walk to inconvenience me. I can understand Guy a bit more now. I wonder if Misery acts the same when not in front of guests. If so, then man, Guy got really unlucky. Who wants a bunch of useless primordials as subordinates after all? Ah. Lord Felix. Sasha called out. Demon Lord Felix. Rain said with a nod. Did you need something, my lord? Sasha asked. I shook my head. Nah. I then pointed to Rain. Just wanted to make sure this one stayed out of trouble. Hearing me, Rain pouted. I am capable of that much myself, thank you very much. I nodded along. Whatever you say. Do you two have a place to stay? I asked. Sasha shook her head. Not yet, I was planning to stay in an inn. Good luck with that, they are all likely completely booked. In that case you two can stay where my subordinates are at. I looked at Sasha in particular. You in particular can get introduced to your new co-workers. Sasha nodded with a giddy smile. Very well, Lord Felix. I turned to look at Rain. Are you fine with that as well, Rain? I will not turn away your generosity, Lord Felix. I nodded. All right then, just make sure you don't get into a spat with those three. Rain looked aghast. I would never do such a thing. It would shame my status as the maid of Guy Crimson. Hearing Rain, Sasha completely froze. She slowly turned to Rain. Maid of Guy Crimson? She whispered out. Rain immediately realized what she did and turned to the side and began whistling. I've been making deals with the maid of Guy Crimson. I've scammed the maid of Guy Crimson. Hearing the last bit I laughed out loud. Rain totally seems like the type to get scammed. Hey! Yelled Rain. Haha, well the cat's out of the bag already, you might as well introduce yourself fully, Rain. Rain sighed. Very well. Listen closely, Sasha. You are in the presence of one of the maids of Guy Crimson, a demon, and the primordial of blue. Rain made her grand introduction. I'm pretty sure Sasha is close to passing out. Primordial? Haha, well you'll have to get used to being around primordials, 3 of my subordinates are primordials after all. And with that Sasha passed out, though Rain caught her. I didn't even know an enlightened could pass out due to shock. The more you know. You can take her to my place to rest. I told Rain, who nodded. I gave her the location of where we were staying and then teleported into the dungeon. The get-together was going to be held on floor 95 in the VIP Elven bar. Rimuru seriously had a bar with exclusively female elven workers made. That dude and his fetish. I'm honestly surprised he isn't drooling over Elmgia, she is like, the elf of elves. It's good to know he has his priorities straight at least. The moment I appeared on the 95th floor, Rimuru greeted me. You're a bit early, Felix. Rimuru said. I shrugged my shoulders. You never gave me a specific time. And it's never too early to get drunk. I looked at the waiter. Can I get a drink? Whatever you recommend, I don't mind. Odin, lower my poison nullification, I wanna get wasted tonight. It is highly recommended that the master remains completely aware of his facilities. It'll be fine, you can always reactivate it if something happens, right? Very well. Don't get all pouty with me, let me have my fun. Apostrophe. Ugh, women, so complicated. Rimuru and I took our seats at the counter. So do you know who exactly is coming now? I asked. Rimuru nodded. I think I have the final list. Veldora and Ranmaris decided to sit out. But there will be Gazel, Elmgia, Hinata, Yoki, Yom and his wife Mjurin, the king and queen of Bliamond, Diablo, Benimaru and then possibly Mjolmel. I also said everyone can bring some of their subordinates if they wish. That's quite a few. Rimuru nodded. Yup. No Milim? I asked. Rimuru shook his head. Nah, she's been playing around in the deeper floors of the dungeon so she didn't want to come. It's probably best that way, who knows what she could get up to with all these important people here. A drink Milim sounds terrifying. I nodded. Rimuru and I continued to chat while we waited for everyone else to show up. It didn't take long for the next guest to show up. I gave a wave to the very familiar figure at the door. "Sup, Hinata? Lookin' good," I said with a wink. Hinata was dressed in a black dress that hugged her body. She even had a little cleavage window. I noticed Rimuru giggling. "Hee, who are you trying to impress, Hinata?" teased Rimuru. Hinata just sighed and ignored Rimuru. It seems she has developed a resistance to his teasing. I noticed Leonard trailing along behind Hinata. I gave him a nod, one he reciprocated. Hinata took a seat beside me while Leonard sat on Hinata's other side. "So what is this meeting for, Rimuru?" asked Hinata. "Well, we're just planning to reaffirm our alliances and have a good time, I guess," responded Rimuru. Hinata looked at Rimuru as if expecting more. Once she realized she wasn't going to get more, she sighed. "Seriously? That's it? Why did I need to come here then?" "Ruberius, according to the will of our god, has already entered a close alliance with Tempest," said Hinata. Rimuru nodded. "Indeed. But who says you can't have a good time anyways? Hee, you can get drunk, and who knows, whatever happens when you're drunk isn't your fault," Rimuru said while winking at me. A gesture that did not evade Hinata's eyes. I swear I was a better wingman than this. At least I only pushed Shuna because I knew both Rimuru and Shuna were into each other. In my case, neither Hinata nor I truly care for each other in that way. Hinata's so-called crush is likely just admiration for someone strong. It's common to admire those who are strong in this world after all. I've just been continuing to tease Hinata because it's fun. I continued to chat with Hinata and Rimuru for some time until everyone else showed up. It's nice to have nights like these from time to time, nights to just chill out and have a good time. What's the point of all this power if I don't enjoy my life after all? Maribel Rosso was currently in an incredibly good mood. Thanks to her greed, she was able to access all the knowledge Ecchi had available to him. He was on his way to a gathering that multiple demon lords and rulers were currently participating in. This could be her chance, especially since she knew the demon lord Felix was currently drinking alcohol. It took her all not to giggle at the foolishness of those demon lords. After all, by compromising their most important aspects, their thoughts. This was the perfect opportunity for the Chaos Dragon's attack. She is sure everyone currently relaxing in the dungeon will be prompt in reaction to the sudden danger. But any advantage she can acquire she will utilize. The only issue will be finding the demon's location, but she has Gay for that. He is quite adept at mapping magic, something he was eager to use in the dungeon. He only has his own idiocy to blame. But that's what she gets for leaving some of his facilities intact. Complete control is always a chore to utilize, as her victims are incapable of thinking for themselves. She needs to lay out their entire day, which quickly becomes a chore. Still, while Gay may be stronger if she completely dominated him, he would quickly lose all of his skill, something that would likely be needed in case things got violent with Demon Lord Felix. She herself believed herself to be on par with the Demon Lords, herself plus Gay, a knee-rank adventurer being boosted by her greed. This Demon Lord stands no chance even if he is capable of resisting her domination. She was ready to order the Chaos Dragon to attack Tempest. It was currently hiding in the outskirts of the Great Jura Forest. It was able to avoid detection due to a special artifact she had purchased through Ecchi. One that was able to suppress all the user's power. He said it was made using his old teacher Shizu's mask, a mask that Demon Lord Rimuru allowed Ecchi to borrow. When Maribel discovered Milim Nava's attendance, she did not panic. She knew that the Chaos Dragon and Milim Nava have some history, so she predicted that Milim Nava would immediately go to deal with the Chaos Dragon. The Chaos Dragon should be capable of swiftly dispatching the barriers placed around Tempest. At that point everything will be pure chaos. Maribel doubted that Milim Nava could take on the Chaos Dragon. After all, the Chaos Dragon was originally only sealed, and even that took the combined effort of Milim Nava and Guy Crimson. Ecchi even had the bright idea to include the Blood Shadows in this operation. Each of them were branded with a slave seal and could not give any sort of information away. If they died, it was not a huge loss. There are always more other worlders to summon after all. As long as Tempest was dealt with, then they had all the time they would need. It will be far harder for Tempest to gain allies, especially if some nobles unfortunately perish in the crossfire. Ecchi truly outdid himself with this plan. Chapter 110, Attack on the Festival Part 1. I looked around the room now that everyone had gathered. I imagine if someone knew just who was attending this little get-together, they would be terrified. The combination of the sheer political and military might present in this room was no joke for most of the world. Of course, both of those factors are quite irrelevant at a certain level of strength, but I'm sure for most it would still be rather awe-inspiring to observe this room. There was the Empress of Sarian, Elmgia. The King of Dwargon, Gazel. The King and Queen of Bliamond, a prospering nation due to their alliance with Tempest. The leader of the 10 Great Saints, Hinata. The newly instated King of Farminus, Ecchi. The Guild Master of the Free Guild, Through that position he can command all the adventurers. Not to mention Diablo and Benimaru, both incredibly strong in their own right. Then there were Rimuru and I, 2 demon lords. Safe to say most would shit themselves once they look inside this room. Alright, now that we're all here, let's start. Before we get into the drinking, does anyone have any questions? Asked Rimuru. Gazel spoke up. Yes, Rimuru. He gazed at Rimuru with a stern expression. Just what were you thinking when unveiling those projectors? Rimuru looked confused. Such a thing can easily see use in war. Being able to project intelligence from a long distance can be incredibly useful. Alright, in this world war is far more primitive in a way. This is a world of magic and swords, not a world of technology, so intelligence is far harder to get in the midst of a battle. I wonder how these guys would react to the concept of satellites, something we could theoretically make thanks to Odin's scan of the ones back in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Rimuru's eyes widened. I never really thought of that. Gazel sighed. That's what I thought. Please just think these things through before you release any more chaotic inventions. Rimuru gave a sheepish smile. I'll try my best. I suppose that is the most I will get out of you. Anyways, I would like to purchase these projectors from you. Finished Gazel. If little Gazel is going to get them, then I want some too. Declared Elmgia. Rimuru sighed. Fine, we can negotiate later then. Both Gazel and Elmgia nodded in satisfaction. Hey, losers. I've already got those projectors analyzed and can recreate them at any time. Odin for the win. And then what about this magi train you mentioned some time ago? Questioned Elmgia. Those guys continued their talk while Hinata and I conversed with each other. Elmgia and Gazel ended up nagging Rimuru to build a train track between their nations. A train could change this world an incredible amount, for one trading would be completely different. Why would someone want to use a carriage when a train is a smoother ride, safer, and faster? Not to mention it would be cheaper, you wouldn't have to pay adventurers to guard you while traveling, that alone costs a fair amount. Once all that boring talk was done, the drinking and eating started. Rimuru took a seat next to me. Look. He said as he pointed to where Benimaru was sitting. He brought a date, huh? Who knew the serious Warana would grow interested in the matters of love? Who's that? I asked Rimuru. He seemed to have an idea of who that was. She is the daughter of the chief of the Tang tribe that Tempest has made an alliance with. The chief said that she wanted her daughter, Mamaji, to stay in Tempest and learn from her father. Rimuru responded. Her father? Rimuru nodded. Apparently Hikaru and the chief both learned from Hikaru's grandfather. Before the chief left her and Hikaru had a late-night rendezvous, if you know what I mean. Rimuru said with a wink. Hikaru's grandfather, right. I haven't told him about Adre yet, have I? It just sort of slipped my mind, I'll have to do that later. I see. So is Benimaru into Hikaru's daughter then? Rimuru shook his head. Not quite, he is just humoring her out of respect for Hikaru, something Benimaru made Mamaji aware of. But apparently she is dedicated to win Benimaru's heart or something. Lucky bastard. I rolled my eyes. You call anyone who has any luck with females a lucky bastard? Rimuru held his fist up in righteous fury. And they deserve it. Even you're a lucky bastard, Felix. In fact, you are the luckiest of lucky bastards. That sounds like a skill issue, buddy. Hey. I smirked smugly at Rimuru. Hey, it's not my fault that I was just born this attractive. Besides, it's not like you're a lonely old man anymore. That's true. I felt someone place a hand on my shoulder. Come on, Felix. Drink Shamor. I sighed for the millionth time. Ugh, why would you drink if you are a lightweight, Hinata? Who knew the stern leader of the Crusaders was a lightweight? It's fun. Responded Hinata. Leonard was just staring at the two of us with a constipated look on his face. Good luck ever getting his respect back, Hinata. Give the girl a hand, Felix. Said Elmgia. We had moved to a bigger table once everyone arrived. It was hard to have a proper conversation with everyone when you are sitting on a stool next to the bar after all. Elmgia seemed to be slightly tipsy as well. Hey, the alcohol was supplied by my nation, so obviously it'll be strong as hell. I can't get wasted if it isn't strong after all. I looked around the room. Rimuru was talking with Yum and Gazel. Benimaru and Diablo were sitting in the corner talking to each other, with Mamaji talking with Mjurin. Elmgia, Hinata, and Leonard are with me, and Yuki is talking with the king and queen of Bleeman. Jolmal didn't end up showing up. Rimuru said he sent him a message saying he was busy with a ton of work. He was the newly instated Minister of Finance, so he was getting everything into order. Still, maybe while Elmgia's lips are loose I can learn a bit about her. Say, Elmgia, I know that Leon was taught by your mother, but how exactly did that even happen? I asked. He sought out my mother for her expertise in magic. She ended up being quite impressed with him and took him on as a student. I nodded in understanding. And what's your relationship with him? Elmgia giggled hearing that question. Hey. I am of course his elder sister. Well, alright then. I have a feeling I won't get much else about Leon out of her. I'm fairly certain that Leon is the one with Metatron. Guy had mentioned that he had fought Leon some centuries ago, and Metatron is a holy magic and purifying related skill. It would make sense for a former true hero to have awoken it. I sure as hell know Guy didn't awaken it. He isn't pure in any sense of the word. However, I can't be certain unless I see Leon use Metatron himself. But still, Elmgia's mother must be someone special to have taught a true hero. According to Ramaris, she is the progenitor of the elven race and one of the oldest beings alive. I wouldn't be all that surprised if she was as strong as an awakened demon lord herself. In fact, I would be surprised if she wasn't on that level. Elmgia herself is at that level after all. I'm sure Elmgia's mother possesses a lot of magical knowledge. Maybe if I ever meet her I can learn something new. Magic is always fun to mess around with after all. I see, thanks for sharing. I responded to Elmgia. I turned to my side where Hinata was still sitting with a blush on her face. Man, this girl really shouldn't be drinking. Ever. At least she has poison nullification so she can easily get rid of that status if something happens. The majority of us here have poison nullification and have just lowered its effects for the night. Even if someone wished to poison use, it would take a lot more than a simple poison to kill us. It would have to be a poison that can affect the spiritual body like Lalatina's, seeing as everyone in attendance Barium and his wife are all spiritual beings. Even Elmgia is a saint, a rather strong one at that if you compare her existence points to that of Gazel's. Elmgia's is a fair bit larger. And Lalatina's poison can easily get through poison nullification anyway, or else it wouldn't be a possible threat to me. As I was about to ask Elmgia another question, I sensed a massive draconic aura, one even greater than that of a regular true demon lord. Rimaru's face jumped to me. The others couldn't sense the draconic aura due to us being in the dungeon. They didn't have the admin access, nor the senses to perceive beyond Ramari's small world. I gave Rimaru a nod and quickly turned to Hinata. Hinata, quickly sober up. I ordered. Hinata, realizing I was serious, quickly stopped suppressing her poison nullification. Thankfully she wasn't drunk enough to argue with me. Elmgia overheard and also used her own skill to sober up. What's happening, Felix? Asked Hinata. I grabbed Hinata's shoulder and activated thought acceleration, allowing both of us to talk quickly. Hinata's thought acceleration did not reach the levels of my own, so it was faster this way. Someone strong just showed up, likely with hostile intentions. Hinata's eyes perceivably widened, even within the thought acceleration. Do you know who? Hinata demanded. No. But we should be able to handle it. The barriers of Tempest should be able to hold. From what I am sensing, it is not overwhelmingly powerful compared to some of the others here. Though that's when compared to the likes of Veldora. Hinata nodded. Very well. I will go protect the children, they are likely to be in more danger. I nodded and sent Rimaru a thought communication informing him of Hinata's plans. Being uncoordinated in an attack could be fatal after all. Rimaru, Hinata has decided to go make sure the kids are okay. Really? That's a relief then. I've already informed the rest of what's going on. Gazel and Elmgia offered to help as allies of Tempest and I didn't reject them. Benimaru and Diablo have already left to make sure no civilians are hurt. What will you do? I'll order my subordinates to do something similar to Diablo and Benimaru. Alright, thanks. With that, the thought communication ended. I noticed Hinata ordering Leonard to also protect the civilians as well as beware of other potential attackers. Smart, this could be a coordinated attack. I gave Hinata a nod and quickly teleported her out of the dungeon. After that I teleported myself out of the dungeon. Rimaru could handle getting everyone else who wished to fight out. I appeared floating above the main plaza. I could see people were quickly being evacuated by Rimaru's subordinates. While there was some chaos, it wasn't too bad as the attacker had not broken through the barriers just yet. Any news, Odin? It has been detected that the attacker is the Chaos Dragon, the progenitor of all the dragons except the true dragons, and a direct creation of the Star King Dragon Veldanova. Milim's friend? Yes. I see, last I remember it was sealed by Milim due to being a chaotic beast. It no longer possessed any sort of higher thought process and was more beast than anything else. Milim couldn't bear to kill her friend and so she sealed it. Someone must have gotten their hands on the seal and taken the Chaos Dragon under control somehow. I didn't know it was a direct creation of Veldanova, but that isn't too surprising. Since it's descended from a true dragon, not just any true dragon either, the strongest true dragon, there is a high chance it could be a digital life form. I don't want to underestimate something created by Veldanova himself. Is that right, Odin? It is impossible to currently detect, but there is a chance, even if low, that the Chaos Dragon is a digital life form as it is descended directly from Veldanova. The Chaos Dragon could be similar to Charybdis, which was not a digital life form, But it was a creation of Veldanova created with the intent to be Milim's companion. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Though doing a time stop would leave a lot of our fighters out of the battle, only Milim is a digital life form, though that didn't really matter much. A single digital life form was on a completely different level when compared to non-digital life forms in the suspended world. It didn't matter how powerful you were if you were stuck in the suspended world but were not a digital life form. In the end you would be fodder to those who are digital life forms. Sure, if I did do a time stop, Milim could take action, but who knows what the after effects of that kind of battle would be. If the Chaos Dragon is a digital life form, the clash between Milim and it could be troublesome. In the end, if it is possible for us to handle it, then it is best if we do handle everything. Not to mention if I do a time stop it will be throughout all of creation, meaning the entire cardinal world will be stopped. In that scenario some of the other digital life forms around may come and investigate what is going on. Something like that could quickly escalate. Right now the situation is controllable. Rimuru subordinates are able to handle basically everything. Then there is the fact that I have never done a time stop before. I may know how to thanks to Odin, but knowing something and putting it into practice are two very different things. I really should have tried it out beforehand, huh? The only thing that was stopping me was the fact that other digital life forms may investigate the source of the time stop. Something like that may cause me issues. Time stop is not something that should be used lightly. Odin, can I do a limited time stop where only a certain area is frozen rather than the entire multiverse? If I can do such a thing, then perhaps I can come up with a plan to deal with this situation without many people even knowing what's going on. I could take care of the Chaos Dragon. By the time I end the time stop everything will be over with. No one will panic and no one will die that way. Hell, no one would know what even happened. That way I also don't have to worry about any third-party digital life form showing up and sticking their heads where they don't belong. I could even do the reverse, but there isn't much point in that if the Chaos Dragon is indeed a digital life form. Answer. It is theoretically possible, however Odin does not possess enough data. Well, that's a bummer. What about Ingvild's dragon taming abilities? Negative. The Chaos Dragon is far too powerful for the demon Ingvild to properly tame it. It is possible if the master is able to hold off the Chaos Dragon and weaken it, however. That can be an option to consider then. Now that I am focusing my senses across all of Tempest, I could sense Milim already fighting the Chaos Dragon, leading it deeper into the Jura Forest. That should take care of the Chaos Dragon then, or at the very least stall the Chaos Dragon. Milim was someone as strong as a true dragon, if not stronger, when going all out. There is no way the Chaos Dragon can beat her. I could also sense quite a few people attacking Rimuru's subordinates. Well, that confirms that this was a coordinated attack. They could have snuck in any number of ways during the festival, so there is no point in worrying about that. But from what I'm sensing, pretty much everything should be handled shortly. These attackers underestimated the force in Tempest currently. Time stop isn't even needed. In fact, this would be a good chance to let Tempest's forces shine, to show the world that Rimuru and Veldora aren't their only strong individuals. Notice. It has been detected that the human Gai is attempting to use the auto-mapping spell. Should Odin interrupt? Make it so he can only locate me. I don't want him to get a detailed viewing of Tempest if he is going to be in on this attack. If I'm lucky, maybe he'll try and attack me, then I can just kill him in self-defense. That guy has rubbed me the wrong way ever since I saw him. Very well. With that done, I sent out a thought communication to all my subordinates. Can you all hear me? Haha, do we finally get to have some fun, my lord? Yes, you do, Megaman. There are some invaders that are attacking Tempest right now. I want all of you to help Rimuru's subordinates take care of them. Very well, my lord, it will be done. Would you like me to call over some of the demons? Asked Arcuade. Zondo has his unique skill, Cook, which allows him to heal injuries by cooking them, so he would be useful. And then Adra is quite adept at combat, so he can join the rescue efforts. There are 2 demon dukes back in my territory. That should already be sufficient to deal with most threats, not to mention Prunga. If someone attacks and those guys can't deal with it, then the addition of Zonda and Adra would not have helped in the first place. Power is far more valuable than numbers in this world. Bring over Zonda and Adra. Very well, my lord, it shall be done. Responded Arcuade. Good, take care. And with that I ended my thought acceleration. Just before I was about to leave to help fight the Chaos Dragon, I was interrupted. It has been detected that the individual Mariabel Rosso is closing in on the Master's location. Got it, thanks Odin. Milim should have it handled for now, not to mention Rimuru should be making his way there. I could sense Elmagia and Gazelle helping fight off some of the attackers, so Tempest should also be fine. Now Mariabel Rosso, huh? If she is approaching me now, I'm guessing it isn't for a polite greeting. Mariabel Rosso, as she made her way towards her target, she could only smile at how perfectly things were going. Tempest was forced to take down the always running anti-magic area they somehow got running due to the protests of various nobles. They did not feel safe in a monster nation when their subordinates were so heavily restricted. It is thanks to the anti-magic area being down that this attack would be as efficient as possible. With an anti-magic area running, most of the Blood Shadow would be unable to rely on magic and some of their skills, weakening them considerably. Of course, she was the one who incited the nobles and royals to make such a demand. She wanted to make sure that the conditions were ideal for her plan. And while the basic barriers any kingdom has are still maintained, the anti-magic area was the biggest issue. This demon may have somehow managed to neutralize both Glinda and Ingvild, likely with Demon Lord Rimaru's help, but in the end, what could a single man do against an army of otherworlders? Though her grandfather was quite upset at the loss of both Ingvild and Glinda, Ingvild especially was a valuable resource, but in the end she was just a pawn, a powerful one, but still a pawn. Ingvild and Glinda's deaths were simply a sign that they had underestimated the demon, and so they increased his threat level. That was why she had so many of her forces infiltrate into Tempest. She would underestimate her enemy no more. A king did not fret over a mere pawn, they focused on the true goal at hand. Mariabelle spotted her target in the distance. Thankfully he was still where Gay's spell said he would be. Demon Lord Felix was just harmlessly floating in the air, his demonic wings extended behind him. It was almost as if he was waiting for her. She shook her head, that couldn't be right. He seemed to be calmer than she planned. Greed works best when her target is in an unbalanced emotional state. It was time to do one of the things she was best at, act. She commanded Gay to follow her lead and quickly put a panicked expression on her face as she ran towards the Demon Lord. She had ordered some of Blood Shadow to quickly make their way to this location and attack her. She would have Demon Lord Felix deal with them and then use her greed on him while he is distracted. He won't be able to focus on fending off their attacks and fighting off her greed at the same time after all. Lord Felix, she yelled while panting. He turned towards her with a raised brow and an amused smirk on his face. His arrogance will be his downfall. Ah, Mariabelle Rosso, right? He asked as he descended down to the ground. She was surprised he knew of her name. Her identity that the majority of the world knew of was that she was a princess of a small nation. Something far below the eyes of a demon lord. She shook off the uneasy feeling that filled her chest as she gave the demon lord her best panicked look. Lord Felix, please help me. Some of the attackers are after me. She yelled as she ran behind him, acting like a perfect damsel in distress. My bodyguard shall help you. I promise you will be rewarded handsomely. She added. Gay took this as the cue to stand beside the demon lord in a combat-ready position. Ha ha ha, very well then. I'll entertain this. For some reason that laugh unnerved her, just like before she ignored the uneasy feeling. She spotted the members of the Blood Shadow she called over in the distance. Each was fairly powerful in their own right, as other worlders tended to be. Easily at the A rank, some were even at the special A rank. Almost all of them are marked with a locking curse upon their summoning, allowing her grandfather to make full use of them. Once she got involved with the family business, he gave her that same control over them, forcing them to obey each and every one of her orders. The only ones not marked with a seal are the commanders who had willingly joined the Blood Shadow. Her grandfather allowed them to keep most of their free will as they had willingly joined them. A decision she argued against, but her grandfather would not see reason. This group was something even a demon lord would have to take seriously when grouped up as they were. She made sure to order Gay to provide a minimal amount of help. The more distracted this demon lord was, the better. Ooh, that's quite a lot, commented the demon lord. She hid a smirk. Ah, would you lose against this group? She asked, taunting the demon lord behind her mask of fear. He turned to her, giving her a side profile of his face, and with that infuriating smirk of his he said, Nah, I'd win. The Blood Shadow were on the demon lord in moments. They took advantage of their numbers by mixing their magics together for greater effects. They each made sure to utilize their unique skills when the opportunity appeared. Ooh, more unique skills for me, said the demon lord. Was he mad? He was acting as if he was in no danger. Truly, the arrogance of this man astounded her. He casually slapped away some of the elemental spells that were aimed at him, while he created portals to send some of the emission attacks back at their casters. She had heard he was incredibly skilled at spatial magic, but to see it was completely different. The amount of focus required to have multiple portals open is enormous. Even the wizards they have relationships with would be incapable of such a feat. He took a step forward and appeared behind one of her blood shadows. He casually slapped the blood shadow to the side, causing his head to burst. Oddly enough, there was no blood on the demon lord himself, even though he was right next to his victim. The blood was almost floating around him, as if there was some barrier preventing the blood from reaching him. That's another down, the demon lord said with an exaggerated yawn. To the side, Gaia was fighting one of the stronger blood shadows. He was still holding back a fair bit, But that was fine as long as he stayed out of the way. This was meant to be an ambush for the Demon Lord after all. She smirked subtly as one of her blood shadows took the opportunity to sneak up behind him and punch him with a fighting spirit-infused fist. Such an attack even she would avoid. The Demon Lord seemed to be clueless to the impending danger, however, much to her surprise, as the blood shadow's fist moved closer and closer, it moved slower and slower, until eventually the fist appeared to not be moving at all. The Demon Lord turned around. "Ah, bet you weren't expecting that, huh? Infinity can be quite fun to play around with. Why don't I try something new? I've always wanted to do this." The Demon Lord snapped his fingers, causing a wall made of earth to appear behind the blood shadow. The Demon Lord then slowly walked towards the wall, pushing her blood shadow back somehow until her blood shadow was pressed against the wall itself. Cracks began to appear on the casually made earth wall, but the wall did not break. Her blood shadow groaned out in pain as the Demon Lord moved forwards ever so slowly. Her remaining blood shadows attempted to attack, but each of their attacks proved worthless as they were caught in what must have been his defensive barrier. "Gah!" He screamed out in pain. Even the blood shadows that were experienced in spatial magic proved unable to do anything, so she just watched, helpless, as the Demon Lord took another step forward. The moment he did so, the blood shadow he was pressing against the wall let out another screech of agony as he burst. The blood shadows might be under her complete control, but they still felt pain. Besides that, one was one of the Rosso's loyal retainers. He was not being dominated by her, he still had the capacity to feel pain. "Ha ha ha, I can see why Satoru had such a mad smile when he did that to Hanami. That was fun." The Demon Lord laughed out. She ignored his words and stared horrified at the bloody wall. "Monster." She found herself whispering. It hadn't even been 30 seconds since the battle started and she was already beginning to doubt her plan's success. But she was already far too deep. Her grandfather would not be happy with her wasting members of the Blood Shadow, and the Chaos Dragon on a failed scheme. She could not afford to fail now. Milim Nava should still be distracted by the Chaos Dragon. After dominating Demon Lord Felix, she would use his surprising amount of power to gain control over Rimuru Tempest, and then the Storm Dragon. She would be unbeatable then. The Demon Lord turned to the other members of the Blood Shadow, who simply ignored their comrade's death and continued attacking the Demon Lord in futility. The Demon Lord sighed in mock sadness. "None of you have anything impressive to show then, huh? Barely any of you have any combat-oriented unique skills in the first place." She did not know how the Demon Lord was aware of their unique skill abilities, but he was right about one thing: most of their unique skills were not combat-oriented. In fact, barely 10% of unique skills are combat-oriented in general. "Why don't we wrap this up then?" he muttered. She readied herself to use her greed on the Demon Lord when the opportunity comes. She could not fail now. The Demon Lord appeared in front of one of her Blood Shadow and casually flicked him. Said Blood Shadow was sent flying at speed she couldn't even follow. That was one of the few Special A Blood Shadows. One that, according to her grandfather, had the potential to grow to the disaster class. "Huh, I'm surprised his body held together. I was holding back, but still, maybe this won't be so boring after all." He was still holding back? No, that was not possible. That must be his arrogance talking. He then pointed at another one of her Blood Shadows, causing the Blood Shadow to begin floating upwards. She could tell the Blood Shadow was trying to use battle will to fly and possibly free himself from whatever magic he was under, but he was not able to. "Hey, gravity manipulation for the win, have fun dying in space, buddy," yelled the Demon Lord as he waved to the Blood Shadow that was floating upwards. Gravity manipulation? Just how many abilities did this Demon Lord have? Yes, he will prove to be a useful pawn. The Demon Lord then turned to another one of the Blood Shadows. "I remember Hikaru telling me about an ability of one of the other worlders he killed. He then created a sword out of nothing. No, not out of nothing. She may not be an expert on all forms of magic, but she was fairly sufficient in all elements. She could tell that blade was not made of any sort of metal. No, it was a construct made of space itself. She did not even know how such a thing was possible." "Something like this, right?" the Demon Lord said as he threw the spatial construct at the Blood Shadow. The moment the construct left his hand, Maria Belle's ears burst as she watched the construct go so fast that it broke the sound barrier. "Gah!" she cried out as she felt her ears bleed. She quickly cast a healing magic that suppressed her pain. The barriers meant to defend the Blood Shadow were easily cut through. The construct cut the Blood Shadow in half before he could even react. The construct continued moving as it destroyed multiple buildings behind her Blood Shadow before finally coming to a halt. This was not an ambush, it was a massacre. "How about this?" the Demon Lord said as he pinched the air. He pulled back as if he was firing a slingshot and then he released. To her astonishment, the entire area directly in front of where the Demon Lord aimed his attack was completely vaporized. That included the various Blood Shadow members in front of the Demon Lord. Had he pulled space itself to create a slingshot? She knew he was a master of space, but to this extent? Ah, I didn't expect that much damage. Interesting. He commented. Is he just treating this like a training exercise? How about another? I've always wanted to try this. He raised his palm and gathered what seemed to be wind. The wind seemed to shape itself into the form of a shuriken. She had heard about the weapon due to the various other worlders that have appeared in this world. She never particularly cared about shuriken. Just what could interest a demon lord in them. The demon lord then pulled his hand back and then threw the wind shuriken like a frisbee. Razen shuriken. The wind shuriken then cut through another group of her blood shadow. The demon lord sighed in what seemed to be disappointment. Well, that wasn't as cool as I thought it would be. Well, I've enjoyed myself enough. Time to wrap it up, folks. The demon lord gathered an absolutely massive amount of magicules. Was he planning to use strategic class magic? Here in Tempest's capital city? Cositas. Ice started to spread everywhere, though she noticed it did not affect her nor Gay. That's good, it meant he did not see them as enemies. He was not onto them. It wasn't often her instincts were wrong, but from what she saw today she could only be glad. The magic also was not spreading throughout Tempest. The kind of magic he just used was capable of easily freezing over 30 kilometers. The amount of control necessary to only freeze a specified area must be enormous. Now would be a good moment to utilize her greed on the demon lord. He is focused on his magic and not on her. Hey, I have successfully done a reverse jumping. I beat the idiots trying to jump me. Mahaha. She ignored the demon lord's mad laughter. She ignored the pained cries of the blood shadows as they were frozen solid. She activated her greed and chose to forcefully dominate the demon lord, turning him into a puppet. She injected her vast amount of desire into him in order to destroy the demon lord's will. She smirked as she felt her will overcome his. By now the entire area was frozen, bar her and Gay. Come, my minion. She called out. Gay took his place beside her as the demon lord turned around with an expressionless face. Good, the control was working. Come, we have places to be. She ordered. The demon lord slowly approached her. Once he was standing in front of her, he did something she did not account for. He grabbed her neck with his hand. Haha, I really got you there, huh? You really thought a mere unique skill would be enough to control me? I'd be insulted if I didn't know that you were just ignorant. The demon lord commented with an amused smile. GK. She croaked out. The fool didn't think to defend his mistress when the demon lord first attacked her. One of the issues with completely dominating someone, he is not capable of making any decisions himself. Gay immediately jumped towards the demon lord, sword in hand. The blade was coated in his fighting spirit, and he is being boosted by greed. Such an attack would even put a knee-rank monster out of commission. The demon lord just nonchalantly made finger guns towards Gay. Gah! Gay's arm was chopped off. What kind of attack was that? Had he been hiding more of his abilities? Hey, I knew it would be fun to use dismantle. Why don't I try to see if I can break the connection you have with Gay? He commented. Dismantle. He muttered. Moments after he said that, Gay suddenly stopped whatever action he was going to take as he blinked and looked around. Could he have? No, it shouldn't be possible. She felt as her connection to Gay was delivered, he was no longer being empowered and controlled by greed. Lady Mariabelle? Gay called out, confused. Deal with the attacker, fool. I promise you riches beyond belief. She knew it was a futile effort, but she had to try. She could see the greed in Gay's eyes as he readied himself. The demon lord sighed. I was curious if you were a dick because of her control, or if you were always just a dick. It seems I have my answer. The demon lord gestured towards Gay. Dismantle. Gay was chopped to pieces. He was dead. Now that the annoyance is taken care of, what should I do with you? Said the demon lord with a demonic grin on his face. No. She had made a mistake. Please. Ah, resorting to begging now that you have no cards left in your hand, huh? The demon lord commented as he loosened his grip on her neck slightly. You know, I might have even spared you if you were a child. I'd have seen it as a child being misguided by adults, yada yada. But you are clearly no child. He knew? How did he know? The only person aware of her reincarnator status was her grandfather. Still, I didn't imagine that the holder of one of the vaunted Sin series skills would be so idiotic. He even knew that? She tried her best to ignore the rage bubbling inside of her. The Rosso will reward you handsomely for returning me. She pleaded. Haha, it is rather amusing that you think I am going to let you go. I can't deal with you right now, there is this whole attack to deal with. But, I'll pick your brain a little bit later. For now I'll just keep you safe and sound with me. She could feel tears forming in her eyes. Please. Shut up, brat. Strong leave. She couldn't even scream out in agony as her arms and legs were chopped off, as the Daemon Lord stored her somewhere so that all she knew was darkness. Arcuaid sauntered forward as she casually waved her hand, burning her targets to cinders. She had wanted to go on a rampage and feed off the despair of her victims, but that would go against the spirit of her orders as it would take too much time. Not to mention the control these attackers were under. They were controlled quite well, they were casually ignoring their comrades' deaths after all. Though that is to be expected from the locking curse they are under. Each of their faces was stoic, as if they felt no emotion. Even if she broke the curse they would likely keep attacking. They were entirely broken by this point, mere tools for their master. Perhaps they would act differently if freed from their control, but she saw no reason to do so. Well then, she would not dirty her lord's hands by having him deal with these vermin. She could do that quite easily herself. It's nice to let loose a little bit once and a while and revel in slaughter. She casually ignored one of the attacker's fire lance, not even bothering to move out of the way. Such weak attacks could not harm the body her lord crafted for her. She waved her hand slightly in the direction of the attacker, freezing the attacker into a popsicle. These foes of hers were not worthy of the weapon her lord had gifted her. She could take care of all them in a moment if she wished. These attackers were merely serving as entertainment for her. One thing she did notice is that these attackers had magical capacities far greater than the norm. All of them even had unique skills according to her observation. Otherworlders then. Her lord has not given her many opportunities to kill for him, so she will make sure not to disappoint him. Arcuaid decided to stop playing around and casually waved her hand around her, creating a circle of white flames surrounding her and her targets completely. She did not need to worry about collateral damage as all the civilians had already been evacuated from this area, and the buildings could always be rebuilt. Her freezing white flame, while having an appearance similar to that of a flame, instead froze her targets. At the most extreme level she could even freeze her targets' souls. She will not need to go to such lengths today. The circle of flames quickly shrunk more and more until the otherworlders were no more, each killed the moment the flames touched them. Arcuaid sighed as she looked to the sky. Some of that Dragonette's men were flying around fighting more of those otherworlders. It must have taken quite some time to gather such a large force of otherworlders. While not all of the attackers were otherworlders, they were all fairly strong when compared to the average strength in this world. All of her lord's subordinates were doing something similar to her, either killing attackers or rescuing civilians. Even Rain had offered to help. Rain was quite eager to get into her lord's good graces. She didn't think that one had a brain, but she surprised her with that decision. It was normal to see her lord's greatness and wish to please him. Perhaps Rain could learn. The new recruit, Sasha, had stayed back due to not having much combat potential. She may have been an enlightened, but she was a scientist primarily, so she did not know how to fight. She claimed to have become an enlightened over time due to her scientific advancements. Arcuaid herself was quite interested in the large draconic aura she sensed earlier, but she did not dare disobey her lord's orders. From her senses she could tell that Lady Milim was already fighting the beast, so it will be taken care of fairly soon in that case. She will make sure to ask her lord for praise after this is all done. She could even sense the usually passive Engvald helping. It seems she was quite upset about this attack on Tempest. She turned to her side where Megaman had appeared. She looked as pristine as ever, not a drop of blood on sight, even though Arcuaid knew Megaman must have just come here from the massacre of her own. Arcuaid gave Megaman a nod. Hee, this is so much fun, Arcuaid. I miss the chaos of the demon realm, all the fighting. It's nice to have fun like this once in a while, yelled an enthusiastic Megaman. Arcuaid sighed. Yes, now get back to work, Megaman. Megaman pouted at her but nodded nonetheless. Megaman did not want to disappoint their lord either. Once Megaman was gone, she also appeared in front of another group of the attackers. Thank you for the save, Lady Arcuaid. She heard someone call out from behind her. She however just ignored the weaklings and waved her hand at the group of enemies, burning them all to cinders, leaving not even their bones behind. How boring. Arcuaid continued moving from group to group, knowing she still had orders to fulfill. She was fairly surprised at the sheer amount of otherworlders that were gathered. Such a force must have taken over 5 centuries to gather, perhaps even more. Whoever was behind this attack had quite a lot of resources to pull such a feat off. Huckaroo, go ahead, Adra. I'll focus on healing the Una. I'll stay out of your way, responded one of Lord Felix's subordinates. Who knew that Felix, the demon he taught all those years ago, would become such a fearsome figure? It felt like it was just yesterday when he was running him through the basic katas. He shook his head. Now was not the time to drown in memories. He turned to his mysterious savior. He seemed to be a demon of some kind, one of Lady Lalitina's lineage. Thank you for your assistance. The demon shook his head. I am simply fulfilling my orders. I would rather be fighting alongside Lady Lalitina, so save your thanks for her and Lord Felix. Hikaru nodded. Still, may I know your name? Very well. The name granted to me by my lord is Zonda. He nodded as he turned to observe other demon who was standing nonchalantly in front of his victor. He was quite surprised that there was such a skilled swordsman present, but he was all for the challenge. Unfortunately, rather than being outskilled by his opponent, he simply lost due to a lack of power. You seem to be a fairly skilled swordsman, commented the demon he now knew was named Daedra. For some reason his attitude and stance felt familiar to Hikaru. Of course I am. I am one of the few who joined the service of my lord willingly. As a reward I was allowed to keep my free will as well as learn under him, said the attacker. I see, well enough of that. I need to go assist my lady, commented Daedra. You'll regret underestimating me. He watched as the two clashed blades, though it was fairly obvious that Daedra was just toying around with his opponent. He seems familiar, Hikaru found himself saying. Could he be? Well, did the man you are thinking of die 300 or so years ago? Asked Zonda. Hikaru nodded. That's right. Then maybe he could have been reborn as the Daedra you see in front of you. It isn't uncommon for people to be reborn as demons, commented Zonda. He was right too, even Lord Felix was reborn as a demon. All I can tell you is that he had a sword with him from the moment he was born, and those who are martially inclined tend to gather under Lady Megaman. Then could it be? Could his grandfather have reincarnated as a demon? Daedra casually disarmed his opponent. I was expecting more, but it seems I was wrong for that. Now why don't I finish this fight here? Daedra's opponent was panicking by this point, however Daedra did not even give him a chance to try anything as he dashed towards his opponent and used one of the hazy style's mysteries. That proves it, this is his grandfather. Once his enemy was dispatched, Daedra turned to Zonda. I will be assisting Lady Megaman. Zonda nodded as Daedra dashed off. Hikaru shook his head, he would have another chance to talk to Daedra. You are good to go now, said Zonda. Hikaru nodded. Once again thank you, now I must return to battle. Zonda nodded. Hikaru cleared his mind of all distractions and focused on the upcoming battles. Chapter 111, Attack on the Festival Part 2. Hinata looked around in surprise. She didn't expect for Felix to teleport her all of a sudden, but she didn't blame him for being in a hurry. Before she was teleported away, she had ordered Leonard to regroup with some of her subordinates at the church in Tempest. After that she told him to go rescue as many civilians as possible. Her views had shifted ever so slightly ever since she met Rimuru and was introduced to Tempest. She knew the monsters and magic that resided here were mostly innocent, they were not enemies of humanity as certain nations proclaimed them as. Even Felix, a demon lord, wasn't so bad, let alone the much more tame and mild Rimuru. Hinata would leave it to Felix and the rest to take care of the threat. Her job was to protect the kids. She found herself growing rather fond of the children that Rimuru had taught in the past rather quickly. She had been teaching them in her spare time and each was incredibly talented. Each had their own unique personality, Alice and her princess attitude, Kenya and his fiery desire to be like Shizu-sensei, Gale and his maturity, Ryota and his protectiveness, and last but not least Chloe. Chloe was the most unique and interesting of them all, even greater than Kenya who had the potential to become a true hero like her. Chloe was already in possession of a hero's egg, and was the most talented of the bunch. Not to mention that she was far wiser than her age would suggest, though she still had sudden bouts of childishness. Each of them had wormed their way into her heart, and she would be damned if she let them get hurt. She clenched her fists and summoned her blade from her bracelet. Her legend-grade rapier Moonlight was gifted to her by Lady Luminous, it should be more than sufficient to handle most threats. She also summoned her legend-grade holy armaments. With both of those few could prove to pose a challenge for her. It had only been a couple of seconds since Felix teleported her, so the kids should currently be safe. Still, Hinata quickly sensed their location and quickly made her way towards them. She easily dispatched some of the attackers that thought it was wise to attack her. She couldn't find it in herself to care for the clearly enslaved otherworlders. The only mercy she granted was keeping the enslaved otherworlders alive. Rimuru should be able to free them of their locking curse, so she just knocked them out, leaving them with somewhat minor injuries. Thankfully, by the time she reached the kids, no harm had been done to them. Hinata, nay, called out Chloe. Hinata stopped in front of the group. They were all gathered together. Thankfully, Chloe seemed to be the one to take the lead. Hinata gave a nod. Chloe, the more time we waste the worse things could potentially get, so I will explain things later. Follow me for now. They all quickly nodded and followed behind her. She was planning to lead them to one of the many safe houses located throughout Tempest, created for events just like the one currently happening. The closest one was the one meant for the more upper class of society, nobles and royalty alike. She could only praise Rimuru's foresight for such a thing. Unfortunately, she could not just teleport everyone to safety as she did not possess the spatial motion skill. And in order to create a warp portal, she needed to create a special magic circle at the location she was currently located as well as the location she wished to teleport to. Something she did not have the time to do. She could summon the elemental of space, but she wished to conserve as much power as possible in case she needed it later on. For now she would be capable of escorting the children to safety. Even the elemental of space may not be able to do much. It wasn't capable of instantly teleporting others like Felix was. The most it could do was quickly create portals to locations that already have a magic circle ready. One thing she did notice, however, is that while the kids were in a generally panicked mood, Chloe seemed to be relatively calm and collected. How odd. I quickly stored Mariabelle in my infinity space. I toyed around enough with her and her minions. It's quite funny though that she actually thought her plans would work. She has eyes yet she can't even see Mount Tai. I didn't end up playing around for that long though, maybe a minute tops. Most battles only last a couple of seconds when one is overwhelmingly superior to the opponent, and I was just messing around a bit so it took a bit longer. It was worth it anyway. I got to have fun with some abilities I haven't really used. After all, against stronger opponents they are basically worthless. Only the super bullshit hacks abilities work on those kinds of opponents, like ultimate skills. I turned to look at the poor individuals who were frozen by Cositas. The ones frozen are the ones with a locking curse on them, while the ones I directly killed were the ones who did not have that curse on them. I assume they willingly joined under the Rosso's banner, and so I killed them. They knew what they signed up for when they willingly signed up to work for the Rossos. These guys though I felt a bit bad for, so I made sure to place a skin-tight barrier on them just before freezing them. My subordinates can come and unfreeze them after this whole mess is over. I don't really blame them for the attack after all. They were completely controlled. There isn't much they could have done. They were even being dominated by Mariabelle's greed. They quite literally could not resist. Who knows what that girl did to these guys while they were under her control? There is a good chance that even if I broke the control they were under, they would still attack me. I don't know how long they have been in this world after all. They could have been toiling away for the Rossos for decades to centuries. That's enough to break a man depending on what they had to do. A fair bit of their lifespans were also shaved off as Mariabelle was using that as fuel to give them a burst of power. Not that the boost did much. A mere unique skill is incapable of allowing one to stand up to me. It may be an arrogant thought, but that does not make it any less true. Still, I'm fairly certain my subordinates likely aren't giving these attackers as much consideration as I am. From what I'm sensing, even Rimaru's subordinates are going for the kill quickly before focusing on another group. Though one thing I will admit is that I underestimated the Rosso family. The sheer amount of attackers is far higher than I would have thought they have access to. It's not just that either. The majority of these attackers are otherworlders with unique skills. I highly doubt they went all in on this attack as well. That would be foolish, and one does not rule the entirety of the Western nations without being somewhat intelligent. I'm sure they have some more otherworlders back in their base. Hey, either way they are going to be losing quite a lot of resources tonight. Though I do wonder how many families were torn apart with the sudden disappearances of these people. I forget it sometimes, but for the weak this world is incredibly cruel. Might does make right here. It seems Rimuru is only now on his way to help Milim with the Chaos Dragon. After I teleported out of the dungeon he first sent Benimaru and Diablo out, and then accepted everyone who was offering to help, at which point he teleported them to locations that were having a bit more trouble. After that he teleported to his office and gathered all his subordinates within moments. He's leaving his office only now, not a bad reaction time all things considered. I'll check in on my subordinates before going to help Rimuru and Milim. Is everything going fine with you guys? I asked through a thought communication. Ah. Master. Hee, everything is fine here. Responded a giddy Lalatina. As Lalatina said, I am simply cleaning up these vermin. Added Arcuade. Haha, I haven't gotten a chance to use the guns you got for me. Don't tell me you're using the minigun. Nah, I'm using 2 pistols right now. I sighed in relief hearing that. Collateral damage is expected, but that minigun would be going over the top right now. I am currently with Benimaru helping him fight off some of these ruffians. Responded Suko. I am helping evacuate the civilians. Due to my unique abilities I am incredibly quick and well suited for such a task. Yeah, thanks to her skill Raiden can turn into lightning and travel at incredibly fast speeds. I can see why she is helping with evacuation. I am fighting off some of these attackers alongside Zonda and Adra my lord. Responded Sukuna. Ingvild and I are guarding the location where all the evacuees are currently located. Said Glenda. Ah, I am also helping with the evacuation efforts Lord Felix. It would be best if I was not publicly seen here. Said Rain. Indeed, it could be problematic if one of the maids of Guy Crimson was seen helping Tempest in this sort of situation. In the first place, not many have even laid witness to guys' maids, but it's best to be careful. I'm sure Rain has an illusion up, but there are some people here at the festival that should be capable of seeing through those kinds of things. Alright, good work everyone. With that I cut off the thought communication. Now time to deal with the Chaos Dragon. Milim was able to lead it a bit deeper into the forest and further away from Tempest's capital city. I'm guessing the reason the Chaos Dragon even attacked was due to Mariabelle. It wouldn't be difficult for her to dominate it with her greed. It practically had no will of its own. The only thing it cares about is destruction, from what Milim told me. From what I'm sensing, the majority of the attackers have been taken care of. Donata just met up with the kid, so she should be fine. I think I can leave this in everyone else's hands. I snapped my fingers and appeared near Milim. She was currently in front of me battling it out with the Chaos Dragon, though I could tell she was holding back the majority of her strength. If she wanted, she could easily one-shot the Chaos Dragon. Milim was considered to be as strong as the true dragons for a reason. The Chaos Dragon, while mighty, could not even reach the cusps of a true dragon's power. The Chaos Dragon itself was massive, larger than Charybdis was. I'd say it is around 100 meters long. How interesting, it was growing in size over time by consuming all the magicules around us. I guess size is an advantage to a certain extent at the lower levels, though it was also a disadvantage as it made you an easier target. As it was now, it could probably easily break through an entire mountain with its physical body alone. Even Rimuru would have trouble with this guy if he isn't trying to kill it. Its magicule capacity is greater than Rimuru's if you exclude Veldora. Rimuru is currently still on his way here. He seemed to have made some pit stops as he is still in Tempest. Though he may not even be needed here at this point. Felix. Can you help me out here? I'm trying to seal the Chaos Dragon, but I can't keep it contained. I also don't want to have to kill my friend. Yelled Milim. Seal the Chaos Dragon, huh? I should be able to help with that. Rather than just sealing it, I have an idea. I told Milim. She looked at me with shining eyes as she casually slapped away the Chaos Dragon's tail. Oh? From what I'm seeing, the astral body and heart core of the Chaos Dragon's soul is what is corrupted. But the innermost part of its soul, the core, the place where its ego and memories reside, is not corrupted. No, it almost looks like it's fighting back. Some part of the friend Milim grew up with is still in there. Milim can't see that with her Milim eye, but I can. My Milim eye was absorbed by Odin, increasing its capabilities by multiple magnitudes. That's enough for me to put my all into trying to save her friend then. If this doesn't work, we can always try and have Ingvild tame the Chaos Dragon. Before I tell you the plan, why don't we shift locations? For what I'm about to do, it's best if I minimize the amount of external interference possible. I snapped my finger and created a massive portal to another dimension, one with no life. When looking through the portal, all you could see was magma. It was pretty similar to one of the dimensions Kaguya sent Naruto and Sasuke to. In fact, I could create portals to numerous similar dimensions, a dimension that is composed solely of ice, with icy valleys and canyons all around. Then there was a dimension full of sandy dunes. Even dimensions that had oceans made of pure acid. There were dimensions with gravity multiple times greater than Earth's. I quite literally had an infinite amount of simple dimensions to choose from, some with life and some without. Maybe one day I could create my own truly unique dimension. That kind of ability can definitely go to one's head. I'll have to rely on you to keep me sane, huh, Odin? I had no clue what the future would bring. Maybe one day I'd go mad with power and do things I wouldn't normally do. If I do something absolutely heinous, I'd rather it be as myself than a power-crazy version of me. Odin will not fail you, master. I know, Odin. Well, enough stalling. I waved my hand, causing the portal connecting to the lava dimension to move forwards and engulf the Chaos Dragon and Milim. She should be able to handle the Chaos Dragon while I send Rimuru a message. Hey Rimuru. Felix. Is everything okay there? Yeah, don't worry, Milim and I have the Chaos Dragon handled. You can stay behind in Tempest to make sure that nothing else happens. Alright, if you're sure then. I am. With that, I created another portal leading me to the same magma dimension I sent Milim and the Chaos Dragon. Once I flew through, I could see Milim drop-kick the Chaos Dragon into a volcano. I'd feel bad if the dragon could even feel pain from that attack. I imagine most couldn't even survive in this dimension before being immediately incinerated. The temperature alone was enough to cook a human. Milim and I can both casually ignore the temperature due to thermal fluctuation nullification. Milim noticed me and quickly flew towards me while the Chaos Dragon roared to the heavens in rage. Alright, this is the plan. Why don't you destroy the astral body along with the heart core? Once that is done, I'll safely extract the core. I'll make sure the Chaos Dragon doesn't move for you. Hearing my plan, Milim looked nervous. Don't worry, I'll help you control your power. Milim nodded. Alright, I'll trust you, Felix. I nodded. Alright, Odin, can you link with her now? Notice. A soul corridor has been established with the individual Milim Nava. Analysis of the Star King Dragon factor has begun. I ignored what Odin just said and focused on my job. I'll have to be prepared to extract the core the moment I can so the corruption doesn't spread into the core. I'll be counting on you to help me get the timing right, Odin. Leave it to me, my master. Got it, thanks. Well, I might as well get this finished as soon as possible. Rimuru Tempest. Rimuru sighed in relief after the thought communication with Felix ended. He was getting fairly worried about the Chaos Dragon. From what he sensed, it was even more powerful than him in raw power. He was worried he'd have to call upon Veldora, who is supposed to be his super secret trump card. Thankfully, Milim had almost immediately made her way towards where she sensed the Chaos Dragon, causing him to hold off on summoning Veldora. He trusted Milim to handle the Chaos Dragon properly, and now with Felix added into the mix, everything should be taken care of. Everyone thought Veldora was incredibly weak, and it would be incredibly surprising if someone with that information came to Tempest with malign intent. Well, since Felix had it handled, he could stay and protect the various royals and nobles in the safe house he was currently in. They had multiple safe houses built in Tempest for this very purpose, and of course the one built for the more politically important people had various luxuries. There was even a bar in the corner. Him being here to protect them helped show that Tempest was serious in handling this issue and that they would be protected. In fact, so far not a single attendee had been injured thanks to the work of his subordinates along with Felix's. Not to mention the help that Gazel and Delmagia had offered. He did feel a bit bad since most of these attackers were under a slave seal of sorts which forced them to follow others' commands. But he had to steel his resolve. He would prioritize his people and his nation's interests before he would prioritize outsiders. He wouldn't make the same mistake by ordering his people to show mercy. He already saw what happened due to such an order, and that day he vowed to never let it happen again. His people deserved at least that much from him. If only he could activate the anti-magic area that was taken down, but it would take too much time as he would have to go to each individual location of the generator and power them up. He would need to get Vesta to make it entirely automatic. Lord Rimuru. How will we be compensated for this danger to our lives? Asked some sleazy noble. He sighed. What danger are you speaking of? My subordinates have so far saved every single person's life, not a single guest or citizen of Tempest has been harmed. So what could you possibly need reparations for? Your subordinates could have made a mistake. He turned his gaze towards the sleazy noble who practically shivered under his gaze. Oh? Are you possibly calling me a liar? And no. Of course not, Lord Rimuru. I am simply putting the idea out there that under such a high-stress situation, mistakes are common. I have personally met with some of Lord Rimuru's subordinates myself. Both I and my lady are confident that our safety will be ensured if we leave the matter to Lord Rimuru. He turned to the voice. Ah, Iroh. Rimuru greeted. Iroh gave him a light bow. Lord Rimuru. The noble turned to look at Iroh with visible disgust on his face. As if I would trust the words of a Majin. Hearing that, Iroh's eyes narrowed. I see, hearing your opinion of us, then perhaps I will advise Queen Toa to reevaluate her relationship with your nation. The Kingdom of Raja was originally a fairly insignificant nation, but after their alliance with Tempest they had quickly gained access to many things the rest of the world did not have, which quickly propelled them to the heights of political power. Q. Queen Toa. The Queen of Raja. Iroh nodded. The very same. I see. Please excuse me then. Rimuru sighed as the noble scurried off. He was obviously a sacrificial lamb sent by someone else meant to test his reaction. Some people couldn't stop with their political games even in these kinds of situations. Rimuru turned to address the crowd. I understand that some of you may have similar concerns, but I assure you, it is unnecessary. Should someone be found to be injured from any of your parties, then we may talk. Dealing with nobles was always a pain. Once that was done, he turned to Iroh. Thank you for the help, Iroh, but it was unneeded. Iroh laughed lightly. I just wanted to make sure the lord of my dear friends wasn't disrespected. I apologize if I overstepped. Iroh had grown quite a lot from that Una that was so quick to anger. Serving Queen Toa had done him good. Rimuru shook his head. No, I still appreciate the help. How is Queen Toa? We did not get a chance to speak much due to how busy I have been. She is fine, especially after you helped her recover. I can never thank you enough for that. It's no problem. The Kingdom of Raja is an important ally of Tempest now. There is no need to worry about favors. Iroh continued to chat with him for some time before rejoining Queen Toa. He then went to check on Shuna, who was serving tea to some people. Thankfully Shuna could handle herself, so he didn't need to worry about her too much. He would always worry, but he knew that would never go away. Now he was just waiting on Hinata and the kids to show up. Knowing Hinata they would be fine, even he would not want to fight her going all out. Not to mention the kids themselves were fairly strong. Yes, they would be fine. Hinata Sakaguchi, As they were making their way towards one of the safe houses, she held her hand out behind her and stopped all of a sudden. "Not an A?" said Chloe. Her training with Felix had not been a fruitless endeavor. Along with learning to pay attention to her environment more, she had acquired a new skill. The extra skill, Ultra Instinct, gives her a form of precognition of sorts that alerts her to almost all potential danger. Her Ultra Instinct was currently warning her of a potential threat that was only surpassed by what she felt when in the presence of an awakened demon lord. "Everyone back off," she ordered. Thankfully the kids weren't acting willful and obeyed her instructions. She quickly unsheathed her sword and used her holy armaments to elevate her flesh to a higher level. She could not hold this state for long, but thanks to her training with Felix she can last far longer than she was capable of previously. She was about to order the children to run away while she bought time, seeing as they would be safer that way, but she was interrupted by a barrier forming around them. All of the kids except for Chloe managed to be far enough away that the barrier did not surround them. Still, that left Chloe with her right in front of an enemy she could not hope to defeat. "Stand far back, Chloe," Hinata ordered. Only the truly powerful were able to use magic in Tempest due to the inbuilt resistance the barrier around Tempest provides. Sure, the anti-magic area was allowed, but there were still barriers that suppressed the movement of magicules inside Tempest. A fairly large chunk of these attackers were unable to use magic and had to solely rely on battle will. She watched as a man unveiled himself from in front of her. How was she unable to detect him? She would have walked right into his trap if it weren't for Ultra Instinct. She would have to thank Felix for that. Yet another thing she owed the Demon Lord for. "Ho ho ho. What a keen eye you have. We meet again, Miss Hinata," said the weird clown. He was wearing a creepy mask with an asymmetrical smile on it, with rabbit ears and a big jewel in the center. "You," she growled out. To think she would once again meet the clown that had bested her back in Ruberius. Even Roy had died in that battle, and she would have as well if it weren't for the potion Felix supplied Lady Luminous. That battle had truly shown her that in the grand scheme of things she was still weak. She had thought she was one of the strongest beings around, just short of some of the demon lords, but the clown had proven her wrong. The clown held his hands out. "Yes, it is I, the Wonder Pirate." Chloe wouldn't be able to run away with this barrier around them, and if she split her focus to attempt to break it, the clown would undoubtedly attack. She was already in a disadvantageous situation. Still, she was no weakling. She would just have to stall until someone sent help. This man was powerful, likely more powerful than her. She could not sense his total energy, but he simply gave off a bad feeling. Should they clash, Rimuru and Felix will both feel it, not to mention those primordials those two monsters recruited. "I hate to cut this introduction short, but I need you to do something for me," said the clown. Donato was expecting an attack of some sort going by the clown's words, however the clown simply took something out of his back pocket, a device of some sort. He, why don't we relocate?" Her eyes widened once she realized what the clown was trying to do. Before she could do anything, everyone inside of the barrier that the clown formed was teleported away, leaving the rest of the children behind. Donata quickly looked around. Thankfully Chloe was right behind her. At the very least the clown would have to get through her to attempt to harm Chloe. The clown was standing across from her, as relaxed as ever. "Chloe, I need you to promise me that you will stay back. In a fight like this your interference will only make this fight more difficult for me, as I will have to focus both on protecting you and fighting the clown off." Donato was not foolish enough to believe Chloe would stay back as she told her to without explanation. However, if Hinata explained that she would only make the fight more difficult, then maybe, just maybe she will truly stay back and watch. Perhaps she can even figure out their location and devise an escape method. "Yes and not nay," responded Chloe as she backed off as far as the barrier enclosing them would allow. "Ho ho, how adorable," commented the clown. Then she could tell the aura around him shifted. He was going to be serious right from the start. "Don't bother trying to figure out where we are. I made sure to prepare this ground just for our special little fight. You're gonna have a hard time getting out." Just from a quick glance around she could tell she was not in Jura anymore. They seemed to be a little distance outside of Jura as she recognized the area vaguely. It was an old defunct trade route that is no longer used, seeing as Tempest had built far better roads for merchants to use. Still, what kind of artifact is capable of teleporting one such far distances? The Great Jura Forest was incredibly vast, and this clown had managed to teleport all three of them outside of the forest. There were no magic circles used to help facilitate the teleportation either. Not to mention it was able to bypass the barriers surrounding Tempest. This group has far more resources than she could have imagined. The clown withdrew a dagger from inside his outfit. Just from a glance she could tell it was a legend-grade weapon, but that was not all. He held his hand out and withdrew a sword from a pocket dimension. She could tell that weapon was bad news, far worse than even his legend-grade dagger. Could it be a genuine god-grade weapon? Hinata was already planning on going all out in this fight. The god-grade weapon just steeled her resolve. She quickly sheathed her moonlight rapier that was gifted to her, and took out a far more valuable weapon out of her spatial storage. A weapon Felix had gifted her after she managed to nick him slightly, that too when he was holding back almost all of his power. It stung her pride when he said he hadn't even been using a single % of his true power in that spar, and she believed him seeing as her legend-grade rapier didn't even manage to create a single small cut on his body. She truly still had a long way to go to catch up to him. But even he admitted a hit was a hit, and so he gifted her a god-grade rapier. It was quite a sight, seeing god-grade equipment be created in front of her very eyes. It showed her the true heights of power that Felix possessed. He did not even seem winded. The thought that he could arm his subordinates with such equipment made her shiver. She could only be thankful that he was not an enemy of humanity, for that reason as well as another that she kept close to her heart. She hadn't told him, but she was extremely thankful of the gesture. Felix had teased her relentlessly about the blush that had formed on her face at the time. Maybe she will take him out to dinner sometime as thanks, especially seeing how useful this weapon will be in this fight. Don't take this personally, it's just a job, said the clown as he charged at her. She easily blocked and parried his strike, attacking him with her own blade, causing the clown to jump back. She took the opportunity to call upon her elementals for assistance. Her elemental of space had especially grown far more useful. Felix had apparently somehow blessed her elemental, expanding its capabilities dramatically. It was capable of single-handedly beating practically all greater elementals, even an earth greater elemental which are specifically strong against the space element. When she had asked how that was possible, he just gave her that infuriating smirk of his and said, "Hey, well, I'm basically a god with divinity. Of course I can bless those whom I find worthy." Cocky bastard. Rimuru Tempest. As Rimuru was reassuring some royals that everything was handled, he heard a voice call out to him. "Sensei." He turned to the voice and was quite relieved to see that the kids made it to the safe house safely. Was that Lalatina with them? Once he took a closer look, he noticed 2 individuals were missing. Lalatina took a look around the room and gave some of the observing nobles a smirk, causing them to shiver slightly. She then turned to him and bowed slightly. "Lord Rimuru, I encountered these children while I was cleaning up some pests." He inwardly prayed that those that had the misfortune of being Lalatina's opponents got to rest in peace. He had no delusions that a demon like her would spare an attacker. Demons of her nature were feared for a reason after all. Even Diablo had once mentioned to him that he was unsure if he could win in a direct fight with either Arcuaid, Megaman, or Lalatina. Those 3 were absolute monsters. When Felix first arrived for the festival, those 3 had gone to the dungeon to play around. Multiple floors were completely decimated. Thankfully they were the higher up floors that no one would reach for quite some time, so the monsters still had some time to respawn. Though all 3 of them seemed to be interested in Zijin for some reason. While Zijin had grown an incredible amount in a short amount of time, he had no clue why those 3 would be interested in him. Still, he would never look at those 3 the same again. The kinds of magics they used. They were practically evil. Arcuaid had used a nuclear magic called Death Streak, destroying the very souls of the monsters. Megaman had used a nuclear magic called Gravity Collapse that was capable of destroying an entire planet. And Lalatina had used a combination of an extremely deadly poison, and various dark magics. Raphael had claimed to have analyzed the magics which allowed him to replicate them, but he never wanted to use those. Ever. They had said they wished to see you, and since I knew they had a relatively close relationship with you, I have brought them. Finished Lalatina. Rimuru nodded. Got it, thank you Lalatina. No problem, said Lalatina. I'll make sure to tell Felix that you did good. If his suspicion about Lalatina's nature was correct, then that should win her over. No one names someone after a well-known masochist for no reason after all. Felix practically confirmed it to him when he first met Lalatina too. A bright smile appeared on Lalatina's face. Ah. Thank you Lord Rimuru. It's no problem. As Lalatina was leaving to go group up with Felix's other subordinates, he overheard her mumble. Hee, master's reward. Ugh, she really is like that, isn't she? He wasn't sure if he should be jealous of Felix or pity him. Once Lalatina was gone, he snapped his fingers and placed a privacy barrier around them so no one would overhear their conversation. The various royals and nobles were looking at him curiously, but he ignored them. Where are Hinata and Chloe? Kenya took a deep breath before speaking. Some weird clown attacked us. Hinata seemed to know him. The clown made a barrier around Hinata and Chloe. But before anyone could do anything, he took out a magic item and teleported Hinata and Chloe away. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Hinata was strong and could handle herself. What he was more worried about was Chloe. From what the kids were saying, Hinata immediately went almost all out. She used her armor and her legend-grade rapier. That means her opponent was someone on a similar level to herself, if not a superior opponent. In such a scenario, Chloe could get seriously injured or worse, not to mention Hinata's focus will be split trying to protect Chloe. He quickly came up with a plan, but before that he sent out a thought communication. Diablo, are you there? Ah, my lord. I am at your service. Could you come and take my place protecting these nobles and royals? As you wish, my lord. Diablo appeared next to him within moments. Ah, it honors me to be in your presence once more, my liege. Diablo said with a deep bow. Enough of that, Diablo, make sure everything goes well here. Rimuru then turned to the kids. Can you take me to where this confrontation happened? Maybe he could figure out the spatial coordinates of where they were teleported to, that way he can quickly go and reinforce Hinata. She would need all the help she could get if her opponent truly is that strong. The kids nodded. Yes, sensei. He would seriously have to come up with some sort of way to have complete surveillance over Tempest after this. Letting these attackers into Tempest was an oversight he would not let happen again. Hopefully Hinata can hold on long enough for help to arrive. I quickly came up with a plan to hold the Chaos Dragon in one place for Milim. The Chaos Dragon, as if sensing that I was going to do something, turned towards me with chaotic fire gathering in its mouth. If someone was hit by that fire and lived to tell the tale, they would be irrevocably changed. That's likely how the Dark Elves came to be. I noticed Milim punch it in the face just after it released some of its fire breath, sending it spiraling into another nearby volcano. Unfortunately, the fire would never meet its target this time. As the fire was approaching me, I simply shifted space a tad to make it so the fire hit the area to my right. It's always fun fucking around with space. I easily dealt with the miasma that was beginning to spread throughout the trees around us, slowly corrupting the environment. Well, time to do my part. I teleported next to the Chaos Dragon, which was still clawing its way out of the remnants of the volcano, and rested my hand on its neck. Fixation. It wasn't able to react in time to fling my hand off. Hell, I didn't even need to be directly touching it. Fixation is just a bit stronger if it is applied through direct touch. That goes to show how powerful Velzard is to be able to affect Guy from a distance. Thanks to fixation, the Chaos Dragon was basically trapped in temporal stasis. That should make it fairly easy for Milim to do her job. Felix. Are you ready? I turned towards Milim and gave her a nod. As ready as I'll ever be. Okay then. Get ready to do your thing. Milim gathered a fairly large amount of magicules into her palm. I could tell she was calling upon the dragon factor she had inherited from her father. Behold the brightness of all the stars in the galaxy. Drago Buster. Multiple beams of light left Milim's hand and quickly approached the Chaos Dragon. Odin was helping Milim control her power so she doesn't go overboard. As Milim's power clashed with the still immobile Chaos Dragon's power, I called upon all of Odin's processing power to help me analyze everything. It didn't take long for me to see through all the corruption marring its soul. There was a tiny fragment of light warding off the corruption from fully contaminating its soul. I imagined this would be far more difficult if the Chaos Dragon was still being controlled by greed. That control was disrupted the moment I stored Maria Bell in my infinity space. I watched as the spiritual body of the Chaos Dragon slowly leaked out and was destroyed along with its astral body. Just before Milim's magic destroyed its core, I activated Beelzebub. With Odin's help, I was able to time things just right and consumed its broken core and safely stored it in my infinity space. Now that the core was gone, the Chaos Dragon itself began to collapse. Normally it would blow up and likely level an entire continent in the process due to all the energy it possesses having nowhere else to go. Thankfully fixation took care of that issue. You don't mind if I devour the body, do you, Milim? Who knows what data Odin could gather from it? It is descended from Veldinova after all. Sure, that's no problem. Hearing her, I raised my palm and consumed the Chaos Dragon's body with Beelzebub. Now I have the perfect way to reincarnate your friend Milim. I plan to use the same pseudo-souls that I imbued the demon's Arcuaid recruited with. I can fuse the damaged core of the Chaos Dragon into a pseudo-soul. Once that was done, the core would repair itself over time. I did the entire process in my infinity space, seeing as I have basically complete control of the environment in there. Unfortunately, there was an issue. The core was not reacting. It seemed to be too weak to actually possess the pseudo-soul. Do you know any ways to strengthen the core, Odin? It is possible to do using stardust, however it will be extremely risky. Precise manipulation of stardust at that level has never been done before. The safest way is to simply name the Chaos Dragon. Naming strengthens every aspect of a being, the soul included. I see, thanks. I extracted the pseudo-soul which already had the fragmented core imbued into it. Milim, the soul of the Chaos Dragon is a bit too weak. It needs to be strengthened, and the easiest way to do so is to name it. Milim gained a look of realization on her face. I got it. Gaia. Your name will be Gaia. As if reacting to Milim's words, the pseudo-soul emanated a bright light. Seeing that the core was responding now, I covered the pseudo-soul with a magic core, completing the reincarnation process. Now that the pseudo-soul was covered, the magic core shifted its shape to best suit the core. Weirdly enough, it looked like an egg. Still, look at me, already being a ROB. There we go. Once Gaia is fully recovered, she will basically hatch out of this egg-like shell, I said as I handed Milim the newly revived Gaia. Before Milim took the egg, she glommed me. Thank you, Felix. I returned her huh. You're welcome. Take good care of Gaia while its core is being repaired. Milim let go of me and carefully grabbed the egg. She gave me a determined nod. And with that, the progenitor of dragons will soon return to the world. Who knew I'd be bringing back such a historical figure today? Me and Odin truly make the best team. Correct. Now that I examine myself a bit more closely, I can feel that I've gotten a fair bit stronger. Due to the consumption of the Chaos Dragon, the Master's magicule capacity was increased, and your physical body was also improved. With some time, it should be possible for Odin to replicate the Star King Dragon factor within the Master as long as Odin has sufficient data. The Star King Dragon factor? Veldin factor? Correct. With the Star King Dragon factor, it will be possible for the Master to use Veldin brand of true dragon magic. The Master's overall strength will also be improved, magicule capacity, magic power, the physical body, the strength of the soul, all of these various things will be improved. With the Star King Dragon factor, the first should be able to use the magic Milim does, her Drago Nova and Drago Buster. True dragon magic is a cut above the rest. Maybe if I succeed in elevating myself to a similar level of existence as the true dragons, I'll have my own unique magic that only I and those with my factor can use. Who knows what a being that embodies the aspect of infinity would be capable of. I truly still have a long way to go, don't I? Though I always knew having something connecting you to a true dragon would be incredibly helpful, there is a reason Rimuru got so powerful so quickly. His connection with Veldora carried him during the early bits of his rise to power. He sure as hell wouldn't have been capable of naming 100,000 dorks with his own minuscule magicule capacity. Maybe someday I can replicate the factors of multiple true dragons. I'm sure that'll level me up a ton. Still, that's a thought for another time. I turned to Milim, who was cradling the egg protectively. You ready to go? She gave me a nod. Yup. Before we left though, she handed me the egg. Could you keep this in your weird storage thingy until we leave Tempest? It is probably the safest place for Gaia right now. Yeah, sure. I touched the egg and quickly stored it in my infinity space. Alright, let's go then. I snapped my fingers and transported both Milim and I back to the Cardinal World. Chapter 112, Attack on the Festival Part 3. Hinata grunted as she deflected another one of the clown's jabs. She was having some difficulty in dealing with the clown's god-grade weapon. It seemed to have some ability to negate various supernatural abilities. Even her battle will was easily cut apart by the weapon. Thankfully the weapon did seem to have some limits. It wasn't capable of completely ignoring the effects of the god-grade rapier Felix had given her. Her god-grade rapier was capable of directly cutting the spiritual body of her opponents, and with enough mastery it was capable of directly killing one's soul. It was an incredibly fearsome weapon in the right hands. Unfortunately, all her elementals except for the elemental of space, Ether, had proven to be useless against the clown. Even the elemental of space was only hanging on due to relying on the blessing it received from Felix, amplifying its spatial abilities. The god-grade weapon that the clown had did have the unfortunate side effect of blocking off the effects of her unique skill, mathematician. Both analytical appraisal and predictive calculation were incapable of being utilized on the clown. Even Usurper was proving to be useless in this battle. The only people that Usurper had proven to be useless against was Felix, Rimuru after he awakened, and Lady Luminous. She doubted this being was on their level, but he was still far above her. Either that or his god-grade weapon's effects were vast enough to protect him from Usurper as well. Felix has given her some information he was able to discover about her Usurper. He seemed to think it was most effective on skills that were not bound to one's soul. Some unique skills were bound to one's body while other more powerful ones were bound to the soul. She didn't ask how he had such a detailed analysis of one of her most precious secrets. Usurper was best used when its abilities were unknown, like when she first attacked Rimuru due to their misunderstanding. Hinata hated how two of her greatest weapons were practically useless against this foe. It was a weakness she would have to fix later on. She refused to be this helpless again. She quickly appeared behind the clown thanks to the elemental of space shifting her position in space, and went for a quick cut on his hip, but the clown had somehow predicted her action and was able to evade in time. Phew, that was a close one, wasn't it? She ignored the clown's mocking words and quickly dashed up to him. Each of her strikes were either blocked or dodged. The clown's physical abilities were a notch above even Ser, one of her 10 great saints and an incomplete saint as well. Looking back on everything, she could only curse her arrogance for her previous mistake of not using the elemental of space to teleport all the children to safety. It would have likely drained the elemental of all its power, leaving her in a far more dire situation in this fight, but then at least Chloe would be safe. Thankfully Chloe had listened and was staying back towards the edge of the barrier. Though unfortunately the elemental of space was incapable of breaching the barrier the clown had set up. Hinata had thought she was more than strong enough to handle any threats that may appear. The thought that Felix would be disappointed only made her angrier at herself. She would need to make up for her failure, and learn from it. She did have a plan for how to beat the clown, she just needed to set the perfect opportunity up to use her trump card. She quickly blocked another one of the clown's counterattacks, but before she could counterattack the clown jumped back and sent multiple aura slashes her way. She had to deflect some due to them heading in Chloe's direction. She had some difficulty blocking some of the slashes as they were reinforced by the clown's god-grade weapon, but she managed. The clown slowly walked towards her. I didn't expect this battle to take so long. It seems I will have to reveal a few more of my cards, how unfortunate, said the clown. She inwardly thanked Felix and Veldora. Without her spars against those two this clown likely would have dealt with her by now. She did not have much experience facing opponents that were superior to her before she began sparring with them. The clown immediately appeared in front of her at speed she wasn't capable of following. Thankfully the elemental of space was able to shift her spatial coordinates teleporting her a distance away. She was already aware of the clown's incredible speed. He managed to take Roy off guard with it and almost immediately incapacitate him. Roy's arrogance killed him. She could only guess that the elemental was capable of perceiving the clown by viewing the clown's movements through space. Felix had shown her how incredible the advanced levels of spatial manipulation could be. Even Felix's elemental weakness, earth proved fruitless when used against him. That elemental is growing to be annoying. To think a mere greater elemental would inconvenience me, I truly have grown lax, commented the clown. She smirked hearing that. Of course, nothing directly blessed by Felix would be simple. Even if ether was no game changer as is, it had the potential to become one of her most useful assets. Especially if Felix took further interest in it. He seemed to be the type that would enjoy experimenting with something brand new like a blessed elemental. Perhaps she can bribe him to further strengthen ether at another time. Now why don't we try this, one last time? Said the clown as he tucked his dagger away, seemingly deciding to rely on his god-grade weapon entirely. As the clown was talking she quickly came up with a plan. She quickly teleported behind the clown with ether's help. Of course the clown somehow expected it and was already prepared for her attack. Her attack was parried and quickly returned with a counterattack that she was expecting. Just before the clown's strike could hit her, the elemental of space, ether teleported her further back closer to Chloe. She quickly took out multiple talismans from her spatial storage and sent them towards the clown. Astral bind. He seemingly did not expect her attack as he was completely surrounded and temporarily sealed by her talisman. She was originally planning on using this on Rimuru should their meeting come to blows. To hold an awakened demon lord they needed to be sufficiently powerful. She cast the miracle-level holy spell disintegration in her empty left hand, completely chantless. She then imbued the disintegration into her god-grade rapier. Her strongest magic was imbued in her strongest sword art. The technique that shall slash through all things in the world. Her body was glowing lightly in a luminescent light. While the clown was still inhibited by her talismans, she quickly dashed forward with her sword drawn. Take this. Melt Slash. Melt Slash was her ultimate ability meant to instantly kill her targets. She created it herself in her pursuit to grow strong enough to beat Luminous. It seamlessly combines magic and swordsmanship. Donato was a bit put off when she learned Felix could easily do something similar, though he made a mockery of it by calling it his Excalibur beam. The power of Melt Slash is tremendous, such that even Lady Luminous would not want to be hit by it or else she would risk being erased. Her sword now possessed the attribute of eliminating evil. The speed of her attack was approaching that of light speed, it was practically impossible to avoid. Even Felix admitted as much. Though he still went on about how he wouldn't be hit by it, but she just thought he was being arrogant. She quickly approached the clown that was now looking at her in fear. Her blade soon penetrated his heart, completely ruining any chance of him surviving. The rampant spiritrons soon began destroying his body from the inside out. It was over. Everything was over. All of a sudden she saw a dagger penetrating her chest. She coughed out blood as she fell to the floor. Donata nay, Rimuru Tempest. Rimuru quickly made his way to where the teleportation incident happened. Raphael, is it possible? Answer. Of course. The spatial coordinates have been found, the master can teleport to the location whenever he wishes. Good. He turned to the kids. Stay here, I'll have someone come pick you up. They all nodded in understanding. He quickly sent a thought communication to Benimaru. Yes, Lord Rimuru. I need you to come to my location and pick these kids up. Take them to one of the safe houses. Very well, my lord. Benimaru appeared within moments, seemingly sensing the urgency in his voice. Leave them to me, my lord. He nodded to Benimaru and had Raphael teleport him to where Hinata and Chloe were. He appeared outside of a barrier of some kind, though he should have no trouble breaking it. He saw Hinata dashing towards a clown that seemed to be sealed by something. Her attack was even giving him a bad feeling. Chloe was also safe and sound. The holy magic spell disintegration causes spiritron decay within the target. Anything within its effects gets erased at speeds approaching that of light speed. Even souls can be destroyed. Hinata is seriously not messing around. He shook his head and focused on his task. Though for some reason he felt something was off. He focused on the clown for a moment. Notice. It has been detected that the clown that the individual Hinata Sakaguchi is attacking is an illusion. What? He quickly broke the barrier surrounding the battlefield, but it was too late. He watched helplessly as the real clown appeared behind Hinata and stabbed her with a dagger. Notice. It has been detected that the dagger that the individual Hinata Sakaguchi was stabbed with was coated in spiritrons. Shit. He activated thought acceleration to quickly come up with a solution. Maybe Felix can help? He sent Felix a thought communication. Yeah, Rimuru. He heard Felix sound out. Milim and I appeared at the same spot we left from. I expanded my senses towards Tempest to see what exactly was going on. Most of the attackers should have long since been taken care of by now. Universal sense may not grant me sight in the traditional way as it only allows me to perceive light, sound, heat, and smell, but with the combination of the various extra skills like Celestial Eye and Heavenly Eye also being imbued into my universal sense has turned universal sense into clairvoyance basically. Clairvoyance over a fairly large distance as well. Not nearly as large as what I could cover with universal sense, barely even a fraction of that in fact. I turned to Milim. Alright, let's go back to Tempest. All the action seems to have calmed down by now. Milim nodded. Just before I was about to teleport us I received a thought communication from Rimuru. Yeah, Rimuru. Something happened to Hinata. It'll be easier if you just come here and take a look. Send me the coordinates. I'll send you back first, Milim. I have something to do. I instantly teleported Milim back to Tempest and myself to the coordinates Rimuru had sent me. I could feel the remnant magicules in the air. I quickly looked to Hinata who was bleeding out. Odin? Notice. Her body is being destroyed by rampant spiritrons. Shit, no holy magic will help here, it'll just hold off the inevitable. Notice. The unique skill, falsifier and the unique skill, seer have been analyzed. I ignored Odin's words as my gaze snapped to the weird clown that seemed to be responsible for Hinata's state. He was looking at where Rimuru was. He dressed similarly to those two other clowns I fought before I became a demon lord, Footman and Tyr I think their names were. If this clown is the one responsible, then he will pay. Laplace signed in relief. Finally he got his job done. He didn't think he'd have to put so much effort in. That goes to show how strong this Hinata Sakaguchi is. Even though he had a stronger physical body and a greater magicule capacity she managed to almost match him with sheer skill. He imagined the results of this fight would have been vastly different if she knew of his abilities. He watched as the elemental of space soon vanished. He had no clue why the elemental was so much stronger than the standard, but he was just glad it was over. He'd be asking the boss for a vacation after this. He would have been toast if it wasn't for his unique skill, sir. It gave him a perfect precognition for events a few seconds in the future. Using that he was able to use his other unique skill, Falsifier, which specialized in illusions to deceive Hinata and make her think he was caught in her trap. Falsifier was a very insidious skill if used a certain way. It allowed him to deceive the very senses of other people, creating a false reality where only he knew the truth. He could make someone see any sort of reality he wished. It was the peak of illusionary magic. Even sensory skills such as magic sense, or danger sense would prove useless in the face of Falsifier. He could make father kill son, lover kill lover, sibling kill sibling, and they would not even know. He used that to make Hinata think he was caught in her trap. He watched as the kid ran up to Hinata. He sighed. Feel free to give your goodbyes, I ain't someone that'll kill a kid. He knew the boss would probably be upset, but something deep within him recoiled at the thought of killing a child. It was good that they did not know his name, otherwise he may have been forced to do something he would regret. Hinata would die soon, and his task would be over. The dagger she was stabbed with was coated with rampant spiritrons. The spiritrons were slowly destroying her spiritual body and would soon even corrupt her astral body. There was no way to save her. Hinata coughed up more blood as she slowly withdrew her other legend-grade blade from its sheath. See, Chloe. It's good that you aren't hurt. She then held out her legend-grade rapier and left it beside Chloe, and slowly put a bracelet on her wrist. Laplace noticed that when Hinata took off the bracelet her armor disappeared. It must be stored in the bracelet then. Chloe, I was not able to teach you much, but I am sure you will surpass me. Well, he had overstayed his welcome. He didn't bother with confiscating the weapons, he wasn't cruel enough to do that. Though that god-grade weapon will be his reward for his victory. As he was about to step forward to grab the blade, he felt the barrier he placed to isolate the battlefield shatter. He turned to look in the direction he felt a massive aura rising from. He could sense multiple waves of ki, sword ki, mystic ki, supreme ki, and one other he couldn't put a name to. He saw a beautiful bluish silver-haired figure staring in the direction where Hinata laid. Damn, the slime found out. He had a far less likely chance of getting away now. He had no clue why Seer hadn't warned him of anything, but he could think about that another time. All of a sudden his gaze snapped to the child. He may not want to kill a child, but there is nothing wrong with using a child as a hostage, right? He heard a demonic voice growl. What did you do? That voice. Something about it unnerved him. He slowly turned around and was met with the gaze of a white-haired man with glowing blue eyes that made him shiver. He felt as if his very soul was being judged. The killing intent being released was capable of making someone like Clayman fall unconscious. He was barely holding himself together. Deep down in his soul, he knew that he could not defeat this being. I lifted the clown up by his neck and quickly crippled his magic circuits. My aura was running rampant in his body. With his magic circuits crippled, he should have no way to escape. I began to pressure him with my Demon Lord's Haki, but before I could question him I was interpreted. Felix. Focus on Hinata first. I heard Rimuru call out. I took a deep breath and nodded. Stupid emotions. Fixation. I whispered, leaving the clown paused in time midair, and mid-choke. I teleported next to Hinata, who was saying something to Chloe. Hinata noticed my appearance. Felix, I guess I failed to reach your expectations. I sighed. You're not even 30 yet and you are still stronger than the vast majority of the world, my dear. I'm sure you will become quite the fearsome figure in time. Hinata shook her head. No, this is where everything ends. I don't know why, but I can feel my end coming. Hearing her, I quickly touched her stab wound and quickly healed it with holy magic. But as I thought, the spiritrons that the clown injected into Hinata's body are running rampant. Even Metatron would fail to save her, even with its domain over spiritrons. It is incapable of precise manipulation of spiritrons and specializes in mass destruction. Using that on Hinata would just kill her. Spiritrons were just that destructive. They are used primarily to destroy lives, not save them. Fuck. Is there seriously nothing I can do? Odin, can you manually manipulate the spiritrons inside of Hinata? It is impossible. The spiritrons have already routed themselves deep within Hinata's soul. Her very ego is currently being corrupted. There is not nearly enough data to freely perform surgery on the soul. Damn it. Odin, can I consume her with Beelzebub and then separate her injury from her? It is impossible. The spiritron corruption has already spread to her spiritual body and astral body. Almost her entire core has been corrupted. Even the ego is falling apart. Only an extraordinary set of circumstances could save her now. Damn it. This is different from Mihido's bullshit. I just needed to restore the soul to its natural shape. I'm not capable of healing souls outright. I would need some sort of reality manipulation to fix this, and even then it would be iffy. Sicko's cook definitely isn't enough, it just doesn't have enough conceptual oomph. Even the Chaos Dragon situation was different. It still had an intact ego, whereas Hinata's was currently falling apart. Hinata's shakily raised her hand to my cheek. I'm sorry. And then her hand dropped to the ground. I could feel my Demon Lord's Haki raging out in waves, its strength far beyond what I had used to stave off Velzard's Dragon Spirit Haki. Felix. I heard someone call out, but I just couldn't hear them. All of a sudden a white glow caught my attention. I turned to look at who the glow was emanating from. Chloe? She was protected from my Haki from a barrier Rimuru quickly placed. She was shaking. And no, it wasn't supposed to be like this. Not this early. I didn't know it would turn out like this. Hinata nay. All of a sudden a glow emanated from Hinata's body. The glow went towards Chloe. The moment Chloe and the light from Hinata's body made contact, Chloe glowed far brighter than before, and then vanished. Is that temporal energy? Notice. It has been detected that the individual Hinata Sakaguchi wished to pass on her unique skill, mathematician, to the individual Chloe Albert. Hinata's rapidly deteriorating soul bound itself to the unique skill, mathematician, as the skill was passed on to the individual Chloe. After which both Chloe and Hinata were sent across time. What just happened? I heard Rimuru mutter. Fuck. Rimuru Tempest. He stared, gobsmacked at where Hinata's body lay. Chloe was there too, but not anymore. Felix was still kneeling by Hinata's side with his Haki running rampant, but he couldn't blame him. His precious student just seemed to have died after all. But the world couldn't handle much more of his Haki. He was barely able to protect himself from it while containing its damage. He turned to look at the clown to make sure he was okay.